Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Complete Streets January. What am I talking about? April 29th meeting. Thank you for all on this lovely sunny day being here with us inside. Call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. The established forum. Roll call.
Commissioner Rolla,
Here.
Commissioner Bakerton,
Here.
Commissioner Schneider, here, Commissioner Lee,
Present.
Commissioner Katz, here, Vice Chair Helmholtz,
Here.
Commissioner Fitka,
Here.
Accord.
Excellent. Pledge of allegiance. Please stand. On three, 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, special items for a proclamation recognizing May as Bike Month. So I understand we have some special guests here today, and I would like to hand over the honor of this process to Vice Chair.
Thank you. Chair, yeah, Jasmine. All right.
What do I say?
We get to stand right here.
What?
One over here. Yeah. Name, words, and what. You can read that one. That one's a little high.
Okay, Wes, would you mind giving when they're ready a general introduction to little ones? Who they are, what school they go to?
Yeah, actually, they can do an intro.
I'm too much.
It's okay. You don't want to introduce you, or I think you wanted to introduce, right? Yeah, can you actually introduce?
She's coming a little bit, so you're.
Yes, we're on the screen here.
Yeah.
We can make it easy. I'll get out of your way.
Hello,
You. What is your name? Is this? Yeah.
What is your name?
My name is Teddy. I'm 4 years old, and next to me, this is my sister, and she's 7 years old.
Excellent. And what school do you go to?
Good company.
Covington.
I'm in TK.
You're in TK and you are in? What are you in?
I'm in Bishop.
Excellent. And welcome. You're here today to read the proclamation with your dad.
And have you done Walker Wheel before?
Yeah.
So you ride your bikes around the South Coast?
Maybe 2 times.
Okay. All
Who's
right.
great?
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and read the proclamation, okay?
National Bike Month is held every May to recognize National Bike Month is held every May to recognize bicycling as a resource. Their blue thinking clouds and well-read citizens economy. After improving travel safety, support student learning outcomes, reduce pollution, congestion, and the wear and tear of our streets and roads. And the city of Los Altos, Greentown, Los Altos, and local schools have promoted bicycling for more than 3 decades. For Complete Streets Commission and the Walk a Wheel program to increase the number of students walking and bicycling to school to reduce the number of vehicle trips associated with school travel. And throughout the month of May, the residents of Los Altos and its visitors will experience the joys of bicycling through the educational programs, community events, bike recycling, or by simply getting out and going for a ride. Further, our goal for more encouraging bicyclists of all ages and abilities to become lifelong cyclists.
Great job.
Yes. You got it's assigned by the mayors.
Yeah. Here. Well, thank you both for being here and thank you for reading the proclamation for us. Come back anytime. Next year, maybe. Keeping in theme, the informational item next on the agenda is May's Bike Month, exclamation point. Did I skip? No, sorry. May's Bike Month continue on. We have several people here from the community that have been representing and doing work on behalf of Ford Company Bike Month. We have a flyer here that each commissioner has and has been shared in our packet. I could read this verbatim, but I think if maybe to call you on the spot, if you would either one would be interested in giving an overview or a share of things happening in our city? Yeah. No pressure, you would not want to, I can read it through, but I feel like you all do a lot of work to make this a reality and.
If I could go.
Yeah. Thank you. You slide the podium back over to its original location, we can then see you in the screen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Can I action some items?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for the invitation.
Thank you for accepting.
I'm excited to participate in the city's bike month planning. Appreciate that city staff and commissioners are part of that group. We have other local groups like Greentown Los Altos. We've got Safe Routes to Downtown Los Altos. WAVA's participating. We have a lot of community groups helping out. It's all about raising awareness for Bike Month. You heard the proclamation, and now we have some events to follow that up. So the first one is coming up on Sunday. We have the Living Electric Fair. So it's more than just about biking, but there's a EV electric vehicle segment of the event where we'll have an electric bike from Also, which is a spin out from Rivian. They've got a cool new product coming out, so public can come check that out. Next door to that booth, we'll have the Los Altos Police Department and some members from the Complete Streets Commission to help give context to micromobility and e-bikes. There's a lot of risks, there's a lot of benefits, and so that's a chance for and a platform to have conversations. Following up with that, we already have the cycle bike drive that Greentown led, which was awesome. Thank you for doing that. And then we have walk and roll on May 6th. A lot of the schools are going to be participating in that, along with bike buses that go on throughout the whole month. There's a Bike Los Altos website, bikelosaltos.org. If you check that out, you'll be able to see the schedule of all the amazing bike buses happening with our local schools. And let's see, we've got Bike and Dine and Bike to Wherever days coming up the following weekend. So that'll be the 14th, 15th, and 16th of May are Bike to Wherever days. You're encouraged to get out there and bike wherever you go. On the 15th here in downtown Los Altos at Veterans Community Plaza, we'll have the Bike and Dine. It's our 4th year of doing this, and it's just a great reason to come downtown Los Altos, put on your bike, enjoy some swag for coming early. We'll have a band playing, we'll have music, we'll have the bike blender from Greentown, a bike ballet, and we'll even have, it's just gonna be fun. So bike on down, enjoy the community, and then enjoy Los Altos and dining that evening. I'm probably missing some things, but that's Bike Month in a nutshell. Look out for articles in the Town Crier that also promote things like what the city's doing and what's happening that's new with our infrastructure. So check it out, be involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
First one on the spot. Well, I can just say, I'm excited for Bike Month. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who will participate in your own way, even if you don't participate, because the calendar conflicts. Please ride your bike where you can. The weather is lovely. There's lots of safe routes around the city. And I feel fortunate that we're in a city that's evolving and taking advantage of policies at the local level, state level, federal level to implement, changing community and hopefully, making it safer for bicyclists and easier for people on vehicles to see the bicyclists and, for more people to be on the two wheels versus four, myself included, given I didn't drive for days. Moving on then from Bike Month to public comments not on the agenda, we have 2 items so far. So first up would be Jim Wing regarding Foothill Expressway.
Well, for the record, I'm Jim Wingle at Home Lumberton. As you probably know, that the county airports and roads have completed their design on the Foothill Expressway to accommodate bicycles. And they have gone ahead and put it in the queue for Measure B funding. Now, I happened to take a look at the intersections at Main, at Edith, but not Springer, but I've got a hunch. Clearly, I have some data, which is about 5 years old now, in terms of the complete traffic counts for, First and Main. And the way the design is done, there is going to be congestion in that intersection. And this is mainly the congestion to get out of Los Altos and off downtown on Main, and then also along First Street. I have made the county engineers aware of this, and we'll see if they start to make some changes, but we don't know yet. I don't have good traffic data on Edith. That Edith has possibly the same problem. Also, Springer. Springer is a tough one. And basically what they're doing is the same thing they did at El Monte Foothill, eliminate the subturns. And so it just makes things different, and you have to accommodate. They are putting in very long deacceleration lanes. Anyway, when it first goes to about the middle of the Draeger's parking lot, this allows queues to get into Los Altos to sit on Foothill Expressway, basically, or off the main lanes there. So I request that you consider a future agenda item. This design is still flexible. And so the earlier that you review it, the more that the resident input and knowledge of the local documents will be considered by the county. Thank you.
Any questions for him from the commission?
Yes.
Where in particular are you expecting to see congestion?
Well,
Where do you expect to see congestion?
okay, I have data at First and Main, which that's going to be the theory from the data. I don't have good data for Edith, but intuitively, it's going to happen. Now, the congestion really resides during the midday hours and also in the evening. There's no problems at 8 a.m. type of thing.
Which direction are you talking about?
Okay, the congestion at First and Main is the county by the long deacceleration lane keeps the congestion on Foothill Expressway. It is getting out of Los Altos at First and Main. Same thing at Edith. But at Springer is complicated. And
So you're talking about headed southwest on Main?
okay, this is going from Main to Foothill Expressway.
Northwest.
Go west, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
I think it's west. Same thing at Edith is west.
Right.
Thank you, Jim. Next up on the items on the agenda is pedestrian shuttle in Edith State in San Antonio. Actually, this is for item number 4, it looks like. This is.
Are you doing a shuttle?
Yeah, are you want to do it for San Antonio or the something? Is it for San Antonio?
Well,
Comment wise?
it's not about the grant, if
Okay,
that makes sense.
Have you looked at listing the for the items on the agenda? Is this something that's not being discussed, or is this something?
I don't think that this is on the.
Okay, the heavy pedestrian shuttle is the topic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so please,
Yeah.
Caroline, you want-
Right. Also want to give a shout out to the Bike and Dine. This Friday, I'm going to be biking to Los Altos with a couple of neighbors. So there'll be 4 adults. We're going to be biking. We will not be picking up a parking spot. And frankly, until 4 years ago, I had never biked to eat in Los Altos because biking there is kind of tricky. That intersection of State, Main, Edith, and San Antonio is really kind of hard to navigate. And then the crossings for San Antonio, I'm sorry, anyway, what my idea is, would it be possible, just to kind of out there, to have a pedestrian shuffle? And what that is all the traffic is stopped for cars, but the pedestrians and the cyclists can just go and get across the street. I've been stuck on an island with my 9-year-old grandchild on a bike, and it's really tricky because the islands are not very big. And we were trying to get across safely and slowly, but it was really challenging. And the bike list has been so fun. By the way.
You mentioned pedestrian shuttle.
Oh, yeah, shuffle.
Shuffle.
So that's where all the car traffic is stopped, that pedestrians and cyclists can
They
get.
have that actually at Homestead, where all four, so all the kids are just right in the corner, Homestead and there. You can see that, Jim. It's actually all back, so we just be.
Point of clarification for Stevenson. Steven, do we, the city, own the traffic flow patterns and ability to control pedestrian light cycles? Or is that, where would a request or evaluation of that go in the city?
Well, it's going to depend on what location exactly that we want to look at. So,
I think Edith and Main
Well-
Street, that complex there.
Right, San Antonio and East Edison, man.
Yeah,
The intersection right out your window.
all of South.
It's
yeah,
part of
right
the
in San
city.
Antonio. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I can look at it.
I have a question, a follow-up question. So is there a specific time that you want somebody to be there to be able to control traffic while people are crossing?
No, I mean, no, not really.
So how does a pedestrian shuttle actually work?
So all of the automobile traffic is stopped.
So the lights have to be. Lights going, like blinking. Time, so all the lights
Yeah,
turn red at the same
Yeah.
time.
it's like Shibuya crossing, right? Yeah.
But if you go to Homestead High School, right up Mary and Homestead, they have all these diagonal things, they stop all traffic and all the kids cross.
Yeah, this could be just for that day,
Hey.
or it could be, be a trial for that
Oh,
day.
yeah.
Schools work for those.
If I may chime in a little bit. To have the traffic the way it is right now, that intersection is pretty congested to begin with, especially during peak time. For us to go ahead and install the scramble, the crosswalk scramble that is being asked is going to continue to impact that traffic even more. So there's even going to be even more delay than what it is. So, like I said, it's a very sensitive issue because that's one of the locations that where I do receive a lot of complaints about how long it takes for that light to change. Because of the configuration it is set up right now, it makes it very difficult to address traffic. So, if we were to do something like that, we would have to look at what is a priority that we want to look at first, going through the intersection. Right now, Edith backs up starting about 2 o'clock, and it stays backed up until about 7 o'clock at night. San Antonio backs up both north and south direction, starting about 3 o'clock and until about 6 o'clock at night. So, if this is something that is wanted, I would have to do extensive study, but it cannot be just during a set hours that you have this. This is something that's going to be there at all times. So,
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. Thank you for your input. Moving on to next agenda item, consent calendar to approve the minutes of the regular meeting from March 25th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
I, like, motion on the approved minutes.
Second, first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Moving on to discussion items. First one is San Antonio Road Complete Streets Project Scope of Work discussion. This is a carryover from our last meetings. What was it? Referred to as items not open for discussion or informational topics. That was presented by Stephen. We've asked him to come back and provide a scope of work discussion on how we got to the situation, kind of the background. Stephen will be presenting for us remotely, and we'll be referencing these large legal papers throughout this discussion for timelines, as well as engineering drawings of the proposed work that ultimately was used for the grant submission and ultimate approval. But I'll leave the rest for you, Stephen, to take it from there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Uh, Art should have handed out to you guys several items. One of them should be the layout that was submitted as part of the grant.
Actually, I think the volume's a little low. Let's see.
Oh, is it?
The volume on the TV is a little low. Let's see what I can do.
You know what? Let me see if I could do it this way then.
Is it better?
Yeah.
That helps.
No question.
Okay, can you guys hear me better now?
Much.
Okay, then I will not use my headphone. My apologies. Let me just put this away. Commissioners, at this point in time, you should have received a copy of the proposed layout that was submitted as part of the grant. You should have also received a copy of the proposed schedule for this project, and as well as, I believe, a copy of this presentation that is being presented.
Our presentation will be in the packet after this meeting, so.
Okay.
It was just, pages. I didn't print out 47 pages.
Okay. Yeah, if you did not, my apologies, if we did not provide it to you, it will be provided after this presentation. But I just want to kind of give you guys a high level discussion about how we got to this situation and what we're doing to try to resolve this issue. So, if there's any questions, feel free to just yell it out because there's a very small monitor I'm currently working on. So,
Stephen, can you pause for a moment, please?
Just for context, it'll be help us if Stephen could mention when this the plan was created. Was this plan the original packet or was there something?
Yeah, this was the original.
Was been working on since then.
Original, as you can see on this.
I see time.
There's dates on these.
Yeah, I understand. I just want to make sure that.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Please continue, Stephen. Thank you.
okay, so let me proceed. My apologies, commissioners. I am trying to work around the technology.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys could see. Hopefully you guys could see all this, and as well as what I'm trying to present to you. Okay, so just to let you know, OBAG is a blend of federal, state and local funds. Because there's federal funds involved in this project, we have to comply with all federal rules. So this means that federal rules override everybody else's rule, including MTC's rule. For us to go ahead, and because it is a federal funded project, we are required to, for every phase that we proceed, we need to get authorization for the Federal Highway Administration through the Department of Transportation, which is Caltrans, to proceed with that particular phase. Each phase that we proceed, we're always reaffirming to the federal government as well as to Caltrans that we are going to deliver on this project. Okay, so it's basically saying that we still affirm that we are going to commit to the delivery of this project, basically. Each phase of the project that we submit an application to requires us to basically deliver that phase of the project within a set period of time. Basically, the project from beginning, when the funding is available, and we received the notice to proceed, we have up to 3 to 4 years each phase, where this project could technically extend out even further, depending on how the phasing goes. But this is not something that we want to drag on for an extended period of time. Because we are required to follow the federal rules, there are certain things that needs to be done. As I stated, we have applied for authorization to proceed with the preliminary design. In the preliminary design, you're basically doing is the preliminary layout, official layout, of this project itself. You're also going through and trying to vet through the process of everything that is going on to be involved in this project. So, as I stated, first is the preliminary engineering, which is what we're at right now. Next phase is we have to certify the right of way, which means that we have to tell the federal government that the project that we are laying out is going to be still within the city's right of way. We don't have to acquire additional right of way. We're not impacting any additional residents along that whole corridor. We'll also have to verify, reassure the federal government that we have an environmental clearance. That means we're going to go through cultural, air quality, geotechnical, all the environmental impact that this project would be doing to the area, the neighbors, and overall general quality. So we already started going through some of the preliminary process already as part of the design process. We have already told the federal government that we're going to excavate X amount of distance. We're going to go ahead and stay within the existing right of way. We already know that we have no cultural significance here, and the fact that the road has always been there for X number of years. We're also stating that because the road has already been there, we don't project to acquire or widen the road as part of this project. And after we have gone through this whole process, we're going to be applying for construction. So basically, we're basically saying is federal government, we have a design, we have the necessary right of way, we don't see any environmental impacts, so allow us to go through construction. So we have already received the design authorization to proceed with the design. I've been working with Caltrans to start working on the construction quality assurance plan, which is the QAP, and the QAC program, which is the quality control plan and the plan itself, assurance plan and the control. Basically, what we do is we have to reassure to the government that we're going to follow all federal requirements for procuring the necessary equipments. We're going to follow all the necessary right when it comes to Buy America Act. We're also going to follow the national AASHTO standard for all the testing method and how we procure the equipment. So in this document, it clearly has to show how we're going to go and construct it, what standard we're going to follow, how we're going to test the equipment and the materials, and how are we going to go ahead and assure that the method that we're using is the top quality and follows industry standard. Based on my deep analysis of what the grant application has submitted, it appears that it was not exactly what everybody presumed it was going to be. And in fact, it appears that there's some issues with how the grant application, the cost estimate was done, because there were a lot of critical things that was missed as part of the application itself. So just kind of give you a general idea. Basically, this is the portion where it says we're going to follow all federal guidance. So we are mandated by the Code of Federal Regulation. These are all the do's and don'ts of how are we going to utilize this funds. Okay, so just kind of give you a general scope. The scope of the project, this is an excerpt from the actual application that was submitted. The scope stated that the project will implement complete best practice, including protecting bicycle way, better integration between transit and bicycle, enhanced crosswalk, preservation of existing sidewalk, and narrow vehicle lane. So I just kind of pointed out some of the key features that is going to have an impact, and I will kind of be explaining things. But with respect to the enhanced crosswalk, we have already been doing this for some time now. I don't know if you guys have seen the RFP that is installed along San Antonio. So we have already been implementing various enhancements on the crosswalk. We will continue to go ahead and make those improvements, as well as putting in high visibility crosswalks as part of this project. It also states in the grant application that we are going to do a pavement rehabilitation to restore the existing road so that it would be a good network for us to go ahead and make all the necessary improvements. We're also going to improve streetscape and install streetlights. So this is what was actually submitted in the application. So this is the scope of work. This is where we need to try to meet. I'm showing you, kind of sharing with you what are the application scope and some of the categories of the grant application it fell under. We're stating that it is a safe route to school infrastructure, is a complete street improvements. We're going to mix streetscape improvements, is going to preserve our local road network. We're going to enhance safety, and we're going to improve our infrastructure within this area. And in the narrative itself, we also said that this project rehabilitates pavement along the corridor, which is in need of a repair. So we have already acknowledged that there is an issue with the road itself. So we're going to go ahead and make necessary repairs as part of this grant. One of the reasons why I'm bringing this issue up now is because it's going to have an impact on how we proceed with this project going forward. The handout that I provided to you guys this is the actual layout that has been submitted as part of the application. As you can tell, we're going to be go ahead and installing what appears to be a bicycle lane with a 2-foot buffer. We're going to go ahead and remove and replace the existing median. We're going to go ahead and put new striping there. And we're also going to be putting in the green marking for the bicycle lane. So these are some of the improvements that is being proposed as part of this grant application. We're also going to go ahead and increase the visibility by putting in enhanced crosswalks. So like I stated, we're going to be going ahead and putting in the piano keys so that we're bringing more visibility into this project. Now, one of the reasons why we're going, and this is kind of a critical section for us, is this. On the left itself is the grant application, the cost estimate that was done part of the grant application. On the right was the cost estimate that was done in anticipation of possible rehabilitation of the road itself. So if you look on the left itself, you can see that we are proposing to go ahead and make all the improvements that is shown on the plan, which is the remove and replace of the median, the striping, but it excludes all the rehabilitation that is required as part of this project. When this project was conceived, they did look at what are some of the method that we could rehab the road. They anticipated that they might just micro resurface the road and dig out the existing asphalt section. So that's the reason why on the right-hand side, you see a significant cost increase of up to 12.79 compared to on the cost estimate on the left side, which excludes a lot of the rehabilitation. That is part which I already mentioned in our grant application that we're going to be doing. The other aspect of the reason why this is very critical is it kind of gives us a kind of a roadmap. What was the thought process at that time? What was the staff thinking of doing to this road itself? So for us, I look at this and say, okay, I could kind of glean in the fact that we're going to go ahead and remove and replace the median. We're going to remove and replace some of the asphalt, which is only 650 yards, which is not really that much. Remove and replace signage, grinding out some of the travel lanes because we have to remove the existing striping. So it kind of gives me some of the general idea of what the intent of the grant applicant was at that point in time. Based on what was awarded from the MTC, there are some issues with what has been submitted. The cost estimate does not address the road rehabilitation. It totally was not included in the whole quantity estimate. Based on just spot checking some of the quantities that is showing on this, it doesn't seem correct. There is no sidewalk repairs that needs to be done along San Antonio. I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you guys walk along San Antonio, we have a lot of really tall trees that has started lifting the sidewalk itself. And not to mention, it does not take into account there's any physical separators in the cost estimate. So it is kind of hard to tell exactly what the thought process was, but based on the drawing itself, it appears that there was some sort of a separation that they were proposing to do. And I think it might be been a striping. As I stated before, this is the original, the cost estimate to rehab the road itself, where they're just gonna go ahead and micro resurface the road, do some dig outs to address the alligator cracking, is the reason why you see the significant cost increase. But as I've stated to you before in our annual streets, microsurfacing is basically applied when a road is weathered, has a PCI of around 70, where the structural integrity of the road itself is in still relatively good condition, and we just want to preserve what we have, and we just want to continue with preserving the road, do some maintenance so that we could prolong the life of the road. So with that in mind, this is what are some of the issues with the road itself. We have severe alligator cracking going on. This tells me that we have to do a very extensive dig out of the existing road itself, where we have to actually dig out to the native soil, recompact it, and bring it back up. This is this is right in front of City Hall, where you can see that the number 2 lane, right around where the bicycle lane is located at, you see a lot of failures, and you can kind of see on the number 1 lane, you can see a little bit of weathering. The old microsurfacing has weathered off, and so that was the old previous treatment. Also, I kind of wanted to show you a little bit in the fact that if you look at the median itself, which is this section right here, you only see maybe a 2-inch reveal. This tells me that this road has been overlaid twice in the life of this road. So that used to be an old 6-inch concrete median, that every single time we have gone out there and overlaid this road, we chipped away at this 2 inches at a time. So we have done it twice. So now you only see 2 inches of reveal. You can kind of see what are some of the results of the old microsurfacing that was done on San Antonio. The discoloration that you see right here is because the old microsurfacing has weared off. It's just been worn off because of traffic. A microsurfacing is only good for about 7 to 10 years, and we have to reapply. That is assumed that we don't have cracking like you see here. You also are in a situation where a microsurfacing on this type of crack, even if we were to do a crack seal, is not going to allow this road to be prolonged for the life of this road that we really need to allow us to go ahead and install these bike lanes. So unless we go ahead and address this, when the road deteriorates even more, we would have to remove any improvements that we make on this road itself to have this bike separation. So this has to be addressed now before we go ahead and apply the $9 million to have spent another $9 million to put it back in. San Antonio is also one of our heavier loads of traffic roads. Because of that, we're in a situation where we're starting to see rutting on the road itself. What is rutting? Well, basically, a rutting is caused on a road itself because the speed of the vehicle, when the light changes, they start decelerating. The car is decelerating because of between the tire and the road friction. That basically stops the car. Well, that friction also has an impact on the road itself, where it starts peeling back the asphalt so that you start having an indentation on the road. And that's you can kind of see that. Typically, you see it with color variation like you see here. So this is where the wheel well is currently located at. You can kind of see that it's starting to crack. So what's going on is as the road is starting to rut, water's ponding on it, cars driving on it. So as the cracks are formed, you're causing the road to flex more, water's getting in, and it's slowly causing the cracking to occur. Here are some of the other issues that's going on throughout San Antonio is the fact that through the years, we have tore up this road for various utility installation. Um, we adjusted manholes, we placed overlay, we see trench patches where other utilities went ahead and gone through and installed it. So every single time we do a trench patch, you're creating a weak spot where the old asphalt and the new asphalt comes in where that cannot be sealed. So it's basically is a hairline fracture that the storm water will get in. And water is hydraulically very difficult to compress. So as water start getting into those cracks, it propagates the cracks even more to the point like these right here, the asphalt actually popping out. So it's not creating the beginning of a pothole. The other issue that is along San Antonio is the fact that, like I stated before, the trees, vegetation are very mature in this area. So it's starting to lift the road as well as the sidewalk. So this is now slowly becoming a tripping hazard that we have been trying to address by grinding out the lips. So it's not a tripping hazard. But those are temporary fix that we need to go through and really fix. Also, the tree roots is also lifting the curb and gutter. So now it's causing a drainage issues at various locations along San Antonio. These are locations where water is basically pooling. You're going to have debris build up. It just has a cascading effect. Now, I just want to kind of talk to you about really briefly about different classes of bicycle lanes that is identified in the Caltrans manuals. We have a class 1, which is basically is a bicycle pedestrian lane, is a total separation. In this, you have both pedestrian and bicyclists being utilized, where there is actually a clear separation from the vehicles. A class 2 is what you would normally see throughout the city right now, where you have a bicycle lane that has been designated into travel lane with stripes, and we actually go ahead and show with green paint, with the bicycle logos and things like that. There's a class 3. This is the one that you would say as a Sharrow. That is well, classic example would be I believe one that pops out right now is on on Portola Road, where right in front of the school you have a Sharrow. This is usually allows you to basically connect bicycle lane. So you're allowing a short section of the road to be shared between cars and bicyclists. Class 4 is what you would normally see that has some sort of a 2-foot barrier that separates the bicyclist from the vehicle. Typically, you do not see a pedestrian walking on this, but because we have no sidewalk in the city, you will see some pedestrians on it. But this is basically is a 2-foot buffer with some sort of a barrier in between. So you can see some of that along El Monte with some of the quick curb that we just installed, just so that it provides a level of protection for the bicyclists so that when they traverse through the area, a vehicle, even if they lose control, they are not going to go through that barrier and hit a bicyclist. Based on what I'm seeing right now on the plans itself, I could deduce that it is a class 1 or class 4 based on what I could see with that striping where the bicycle lanes and they're going and putting in the green lines. So I'm assuming it's just class 4. What are some of the challenges of implementing the grant? So class 1 would be very difficult for us to go ahead and install because we would have to physically create a land barrier separation between the bicycle lane and the vehicle. So we would possibly be having to move the sidewalk or do something creative to create that separation. Based on what I'm seeing right now on the drawing, I'm assuming it's a class 4 that was being proposed. So a class 4 requires a 2-foot buffer with a quick curb or something like that that actually creates a physical barrier so that a vehicle cannot intrude into a bicycle lane. The grant itself is saying that we're going to narrow the road. So the existing road is already 11 foot wide. San Antonio is a truck route. For us to reduce it down to a 10.5 is not going to give us the added benefit to allow us to go ahead and put in the 2-foot bicycle lane. The other challenges putting in a bicycle lane, we have a total of 5 bus stops that's located between Foothill Expressway and all the way to El Camino Real. Under the vehicle code, section 215209, under the California Vehicle Code, technically those buses are not allowed to be in the bicycle lane. So we would have to design it such that it allows the buses to pull over to unload the passenger and load the passenger. And at the same time, we would have to change our ordinance a little bit to allow that to occur in a bicycle lane. Also, some of the separation itself on San Antonio would possibly create a traffic congestion. I don't know if you have driven San Antonio, right? Let's see, going northbound, heading towards Almond, right around the beginning of Los Altos High School. You can see that the traffic itself is backing up all the way from Los Altos High School all the way to Edith, depending on how bad, well, if it is a bad weather, parents are dropping off the kids, it backs up all the way. I'm already trying to address that issue and cause of those backups. So hopefully by summer, we would make the modification so that hopefully it would resolve some of the backups that's going on. The biggest challenge that we're going to have is heading towards San Antonio is right around the El Camino Real. The business itself is currently utilizing San Antonio as part of their parking lot. So as you can see, we do have an edge line right here where we are basically allowing bicyclists to go ahead and utilize this space. So this is a space between the parking lot itself and where the travel lane is. For us to go ahead and put a barrier here, we're basically taking away the business's ability to park any vehicles in front of their business. So we technically can't do that because he has been there for a long period of time. So I know that I have been giving you guys a lot of negative information about this project, but there's some stuff that you need to be aware of what has been going on. These are some of the challenges that I've been trying to figure out how we could address and at the same time deliver on this project. This is aside from the fact that we are definitely going to have a funding shortfall on this project. So that is aside from that. So going forward, despite some of the challenges of the grant application itself, we're still working through the process because we have already committed to Federal Highway Administration that we are committed to delivering this project. I have already been reassuring MTC and VTA that we're going to go ahead and deliver this project no later than 2028. It may adjust a little bit depending on how the construction goes and how the weather goes. But on a quarterly basis, I've been reporting to both agencies on where we're at, as well as Caltrans. This improvement on San Antonio is going to be a very critical transformational feature of the downtown circulation, how the circulation is going to work, how the pedestrian is going to be able to go, how the bicyclist is going to be able to access the downtown area. One of the things that we need to talk about I need to talk about with the commissioner is what is it that you guys really want to see? What kind of bicycle lane you would like to see? I've given you the 4 different type of class bicycle lanes. I was also giving you the pros and cons. I'll be more than happy to go back to those items again in a bit. We're currently working on the process of revising the cost estimate because we need to know what is the true cost of this project. I know Art has been out there. I've been out there. We are trying to go through the due diligence of actually doing a full-blown cost estimate for this project. Based on the outcome of the total costs, we're gonna, or myself, the city manager, and possibly council, we're gonna have to try to figure out, okay, what are some of the alternatives or how we're gonna fund this project as a whole. This is our financial project commitment to Caltrans, and this is an authorization for us to go ahead and start doing the preliminary design phase. This is our assurance to Caltrans and to Federal Highway that we are going to deliver on the project. And we have also told them that we're putting some skin in this game by putting in 11.47 of our local match money so that we could obtain the 1.1 million from the federal government. So we're basically saying we're basically, we're willing to fund it because this is that critical to us. We clearly, staff is clearly aware and understand the priority of this project to the city. This is one of the biggest asks from the community itself. We have like I stated, we have already started going through the process of doing a cost estimate. We're trying to go through and look at what are some of the options on how we're going to deliver this project. Is it possible? Is there a possibility of breaking this project so that we could try to control the actual costs? But at the same time, we have to make sure that we meet the intent of the original scope. That's part of the Code of Federal Regulation requirements. I'm also going through and looking at various funding options that is available for this project. Is this something that we're going to have to use our city general fund, or is this something that I could use alternative funding source to do this project? So the behind scenes, we are going through looking at various options that we could try to apply for this. I'm going to go over the schedule really quickly with you, and you guys all have a copy of it. But basically, I'm showing that we have already started the project with the understanding by August of 2029, we're going to be totally constructed and close out this project. I'm estimating this is going to take a full year for construction, just because there's going to be extensive coordination of traffic controls through San Antonio. San Antonio is one of the highest volume roads, so we're going to have to be very mindful of that so that we could go ahead and allow traffic to continue flowing through, full knowing that we have a safe route to school and we have a lot of kids being driven to school. I just want to kind of give you a heads up that there's a strong possibility that depending on how fast I could push our consultants, we're going to have a couple of special CSC meetings so that we could go ahead and have our public outreach. At this point in time, I'm proposing to have 3 public outreach on top of 3 public meetings, CSC meetings to go over this project. So that is basically my presentation in a high level. I am open to any questions you guys may have.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the homework on this, providing us the background and context and the challenges that we face and opportunities that we have to solve. I know there'll be a lot of discussion on this, so to make sure that we all get a chance for questions first, then we'll go to the public for questions, and then we will come back to us for comments as a structure. So please make sure you're asking a question. Please limit it to 2 per commissioner to start, and if we have time, I can try to keep it time bound. I'm just going to leave it there. I know I'm challenging us a little bit. So if anyone wants to go first, please raise your hand. And I know people have questions and writing notes. So
want to talk about bike lanes. You said you think this is set up for class 4, but what I'm seeing here are a bunch of 18-inch buffer zones, not 2 foot. Are you sure about that class 4?
Well, like I stated, it's a speculation on my part. The way it kind of looks right now, it looks like a class 4. There is no physical real estate that separates the bicycle lane from the vehicles. So, like I said, looking at the cost estimate, it doesn't really give me a clue what the thought process was. It's just my speculation. I know it's not a class 3. It's not a Sharrow, because we would go back, we would be going backwards. I know it's not a class 2 because we're stated in our grant application itself, we're going to provide a physical, safe barrier that separates them. So it has to be a 1 or 2, a 1 or 4. So, yeah, it's a speculation on my part.
How do we confirm that?
Well, it's basically the way it's written on the grant application is kind of open up to our interpretation. So that's why I stated in my presentation. One of the things that we need to discuss as this body is what is it that we want to see? There's pros and cons to class 1, and there are pros and cons to class 4. Class 2 and 3 is definitely out. So I serve at the wishes of the commission on this one, since you guys represent the public.
Yeah, so I have, Steve, so I'm looking at, the date for preparing the documents for the consultant. And it shows here that by June 1st of this year, those documents will be prepared. And I'm guessing that includes an RFP.
This is actually going to be a little bit more different. We're not going to just be asking for a proposal, because this is such a very sensitive and very critical project for the city. We're going to be asking for a statement of qualification. So any consultant who is interested in this project has to basically give us their resume on a project that is very similar to what we're trying to build.
Okay.
Once that resume is submitted to us, we're going to review the resume, and we will invite 3 of the strongest consultant with very similar experience. And then from there, they're going to have to give us a presentation of how do they envision how this is going to go.
Right.
Do they understand the project? Do they understand the challenges? Are they going to be able to meet the intent of this grant application? So once we find the best consultant, then we're going to negotiate with that consultant on a fee schedule and a formal timeline on when they have to go ahead and submit things to us. And as part of this process is going to be on the consultant for them to go ahead and do the presentation to the commission as well as to the general public. So on the first round, at the 30% submittal, I think I put down 3 weeks. My thought is go ahead and not only just do a complete street commission presentation, but we're going to basically go on the road to the public and say, hey, give us your feedback. So we're going to be basically having possibly a meeting in not only at the community center here, but we may be going all the way down to the Grant Park. The Grant Community Center, so that we are able to get feedback from various groups of the community. So it's not just one group who's driving the design itself.
Thank you. You know, Stephen, it's clear that you put in a ton of work on this already. I mean, this package is very impressive. My second question has to do with the scope of work, which is that I've lived on one of the major bike routes, both to the high school and to Egan, which cyclists take today. And what I've seen, because it's right by my house, is that for the most part, the students today don't use San Antonio because of the risks involved. Also because it may not be the shortest line between 2 points. So they use some major feeder streets. And what I'm thinking about is what problem we're solving and whether the scope of work is going to include some survey of the current traffic patterns that the students are using, especially where really bad behavior is occurring. For example, this is just an example, because of location of crosswalks and where there aren't any, and you have kids riding the wrong way in bike lanes in order to get to close destination.
One of the things that I'm proposing, and the reason why I'm kind of bringing this presentation now to the commission, is the fact that I'm in the process of writing the scope of work. What is it that we're going to be asking a consultant to do? I already know that I need to do a traffic survey analysis. And at the same time, it's not just a simple, let's put this bicycle lane in. We got to be very mindful of it in the fact that whatever improvements we make, we cannot have a detrimental impact on San Antonio because San Antonio is a major road. So we have to try to strike the balance between the bicyclist safety and the vehicles. Because if we congest the traffic too bad, you're going to have that situation continue to go on where the kids are not going to feel safe to be on San Antonio because the cars itself is not going to really pay attention to the rules of the road and some of the safety features that's going on out there. So we have to strike that balance. So the scope of work has to be very mindful and very thought through. So, that's is not something that I am just slapping on together and just going out there. No, there have already been numerous meetings internally to talk about how are we going to go ahead and address this because the significance of this.
Stuff.
Hi, yes. So Steve, I have a clarifying question about the grant and the numbers. So the grant is $9 million, am I right?
It's like 7.
The federal government is actually paying for about 7.2, and we are footing the remaining amount. So the federal government is putting in 88.53, and we are putting in 11.47% of that $9 million.
Okay, so 7 something. And then, by we, you mean the city of Los Altos?
Correct.
And then you were talking about the Caltrans putting another 1.1?
No, Caltran is, they represent the Federal Highway Administration. They have been given the designation from the federal government. So Caltran, when Caltran speaks on our projects, they're speaking on behalf of the federal government. So so Caltran is our authorization agency on behalf of the federal government, but everything does go to federal government for final approval.
So even if your reassessment of the budget, which will definitely be way more than the budget provided in the grant, is a lot more, we cannot change the grant or ask for more money from the federal government. That's it.
Per the Code of Federal Regulation, it clearly states once a dollar amount is set, the Fed is no longer obligated to provide any more funding. So any cost overrun will now be on the agency, which is in our case us, to come up with the delta to deliver this project as intended when we turn in the application.
Yeah, I want to make sure that was clear because that's what I thought. So any delta will be the city will have to come up with those funds.
Correct. And as part of when I submitted my application to Caltran for authorization to proceed with the preliminary design, I had to assure the federal government and to Caltran that we have enough resource, so we have enough staff, and we have means of hiring consultant if need be to bring in the expertise necessary for this project. B, the city is committed to deliver this project. That means the council had to take action for them to basically, I took an item before the council saying that I want reassurance from the council that we're going to deliver on this project so that the city manager could go ahead and sign a supplemental agreement saying, yes, we are committing again that we're going to deliver on this project with the understanding any cost overrun is going to be borne by the city.
Okay. And that leads to my second question, actually, which is that, the city, as you presented, is committed to doing this. So this project is going to happen, right? All things being equal and something changes. No,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negativity on how the grant was written. That's neither here or there. Like I said in the last time, there's some challenges. what the public and the commissioner is not aware of is the amount of meetings and discussion, not just between myself and to the director, but also to the city manager on how we're going to go ahead and deliver this project. So even in my conversation with the city manager, he's totally committed to deliver this project. The question is, what is the dollar amount? So if,
No, that's exactly where I was going. Like, it looks like, I mean, we can tell from the presentation, the excellent presentation, that we are committed as a city and you are committed. But then the question I have is, there gonna be a couple of community public outreach events, right? So what are you hoping to get out of those public outreach events? Because there seem to be some things that are flexible, negotiable, and some others that are not. So I'm just curious, what type of feedback would the community be able to provide?
well, one of the things that I'm going to be asking for the community is most likely I'm going to be asking the consultant to probably prepare about 3 or 4 different layouts and how we're going to meet the intent of the grant. They're going to have to tell me that, one of the things that is going to be a common factor throughout all different layout is the fact that we have to go ahead and do something about the pavement section. Based on some of the distress that I'm seeing right now, I don't know if the road itself is going to last another 2 years when this project could go ahead and make the necessary repair. So I'm already thinking about, okay, how do I make this road last? And what are some of the things that I could do as an improvement in the meantime to go ahead and continue on with the public safety and the ability to navigate through this area where the road has totally deteriorated. So I'm already looking at that. So the intent is, as we go out to the public to say, hey, this is what we're kind of looking at. This is how we're going to go ahead and separate the bicycle lane from the vehicle. These are some of the impacts for us to have the necessary width. Maybe we need to narrow the sidewalk, or maybe we need to go ahead and adjust the sidewalk to accommodate all the improvements that needs to be done out there. Right now, just kind of looking at it, and I'm just spitballing here and just thinking out loud. The road itself is already 11 foot wide in each lane. So for us to go ahead and narrow it down to 10.5 is not going to provide us enough width that we require to have that 2-foot separation between a bicyclist and a vehicle. For me to go ahead and try to put some sort of physical barrier in between, I need to have a little bit of space so that the physical barrier can be installed and there's still a little bit of buffer where the cars are traveling. So there's already a lot of things. There's a lot of things that has to be figured out. But this is something that I have to work with my consultant to figure out. And as we go through the process, these will have impact on how the road is going to be laid out, where the curb may be at, or maybe we may not even move the curb at all. Maybe we could do a little bit of a diet and suck into the island a little bit so that we're not really having impact. I don't know. I know right now that there's a strong desire by the community to try to preserve that median. So that's one of the things that I've already heard. So based on this, a 30% layout is just that. It's just a preliminary layout. These are all the options that we could try to pursue. And based on these options, community, which one would you like? So the commissioner, you'll be able to have the first stab at it and say, hey, here's all the pros and cons. So as a public, as they're watching this, they're already listening to all the pros and cons of all the various different layouts. So that when we go out to the public, it's going to be up to the consultant to basically take a survey of saying, yes, we like this layout over this layout. Or maybe we like this features over this layout that I want you to incorporate into this layout. So those are the process we're going to be going through. In the fact that the first one is at 30% layout. So these are just basically lines on a piece of paper right now. So then based on that, then they could go ahead and refine that layout so that they could try to get up to the 60%. At the 60%, you're basically going beyond just the lines now. At 60%, you're looking at okay, these are some of the features. This is how the crosswalks may look. These are how the striping is going to go. So it kind of gives you some of the big, high level details. It's not until we get up to the 90% you're actually looking at, okay, now we're looking at constructability type of plans. So we want to give the public an opportunity to have that kind of feedback because San Antonio is such a major road that everybody's interested in. And not to mention, we have Los Altos High School, which creates a lot of traffic. So we got to be very careful about how we present, how we do this.
Thank you. Wes?
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Really appreciate it. Questions for you. So it sounds like I saw the delta for what we got the grant for and the estimates that you put together, but it's for microservicing, right? And so we understand that delta is actually going to increase. And at the moment, we just don't know exactly how much it's going to increase. We don't have a model for that yet, but you're working on that and putting it together. Yeah, got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And to me, it makes sense that we can say we're committed to this project, and we are to a certain extent, but we have to at least understand what the all-in cost is going to be, and it will be a decision for the city council to make as to whether that squares with we literally have the money or don't, and we choose to put it towards this project. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say because of that delta, if the delta is so significant that is insurmountable, then we may be having to start thinking about, okay, what are some of the options we could start doing? Instead of building the whole thing at once, maybe we could build it in phases so that big chunk of it, we're building it, and then we are building the remaining with our city resources, or maybe I can apply for other grants. So there's a lot of factors that could be applied to this, all the way down to maybe we could use some of our road funds to help with some of the stuff that's going on, because I'm already looking at the roads deteriorating to the point where if it's not going to last 2 years.
Yeah,
so if it's not going to last for 2 years, then what do I got to do to make it either last or make it last so that it blends with the remaining of the project?
And that's another question I have for you. So you segued into that really well, so thank you. When I look at what looks like it's driving a big part of the delta that we're going to have to cover potentially, it looks like it's related to just the poor pavement conditions of the road, right? And the use of the road, right? And so conceivably, I mean, I'm curious in your perspective, let's say this grant was never awarded and we weren't looking at this project. Wouldn't there still be a really strong separate rationale to just do this work at essentially whatever the cost is, right? That's the work that you do for the city every day. How much do you see that as just that is the cost of keeping San Antonio Road navigable, whether there's a bike lane or not? Isn't that a big portion of the expense that we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, let's say we never had this grant. We're gonna go. We still have to maintain San Antonio. So I would have already gone through and did, instead of because we have already been overlaid twice, I may be looking at possibility of basically grind out the old road and put back what is there now. So you would not have the separation that the grant is asking for. I may not have gone through and increased the height of the median like what the grant would have done, because the grant itself allows us to go ahead and make the necessary modification so that the road itself should be what it should be. The maintenance is basically, how do I keep the existing road drivable?
Right.
So that would have been the core scope of the work. But because of the grant, okay, now we have been kicking this maintenance down the road enough times. You can see in the picture that we have done plenty of microsurfacing when we really should have done some really resurfacing of the road itself. So if the grant wasn't there, I would have addressed that. But now that we have the grant, okay, so how do we go ahead and apply both of them exactly?
Got it. And I think that was some of the rationale for the work that was done along El Camino too, or the timing for it, where there was a maintenance that needed to happen for that, and that justified some of the other work that was done. And it seems pretty similar here to me.
Correct.
But anyway, okay.
I'll be there for your two questions.
Was that two? Okay, all right. All right. No, all good.
I may not have questions, and I can get my questions out
Absolutely.
for guests. Anyone else?
I have a couple to talk about. Okay, got it. I am going to go piggyback on the question regarding the budget. So has the city ever done an estimate on what it takes to just rehabilitate the pavement on San Antonio? You know, what you were saying is, let's say we didn't have this grant, was there ever an estimate, or do you have a rough estimate of what that might be?
No. And that's one of the exercises we're going through right now. If we didn't have the grant, the San Antonio I'll be doing the same thing what I'm doing right now in Springer. Just start taking sections at a time with the understanding I'm committed to go from one end to another. But because of this grant, I'm trying to address the whole holistic approach of San Antonio all at once.
Yeah, I understood. The reason why I'm asking is if there isn't a budget there, then where would we be seeking the funding for that? You know, let's say we didn't have the grant, what would be our funding source?
If we didn't have the grant?
What's that?
Yeah.
If we didn't have the grant?
If we did not, yes.
It would come from our annual streets project.
And that was, but we have not budgeted for that, at least in our 5-year plan, correct?
No.
It's not in.
No, it basically the 4-year plan that I've submitted to the commission 2 years ago. That was based on the PCI and the fact that the grant should have covered all that. It wasn't until that I've really gone in depth on the grant itself, looking at the cost estimate, going, okay, we have a hole. So now how do I go about fixing that?
So I guess I'll wait till the comment section to see how we might approach this. My second question, please. So given the grant application, what is the scope of what we can change? Now that we have a grant application, we've got something approved. What is it? How much of this project can we change? Because the reason I'm asking is, if it's going to come back to the commission for us to be discussing what our goals with the bikes and how we approach the sidewalks and the pedestrian traffic. So I think it'll be good for us to know what, how much we can change or what we can propose. Some parameters around.
Under the Code of Federal Regulations, it states clearly that when you submit a grant application, you are very clear on what the scope of the work is. So you cannot basically say in all this thing, we're saying, well, because we don't have the money for the pavement, we're not going to put a barrier here and we're just going to fix the road. You can't do that. Under the Code of Federal Regulations, you have to meet the intent of the original scope of work. Only thing that they would allow you to do is make minor modifications. When I mean minor modification is instead of saying, hey, we're going to put green paint down for the bicycle lane, instead of that, we're going to put orange. Or if instead of saying, we're going to go ahead and stripe this way, but we're going to stripe it another way. Those are minor modifications to the grant itself. For us to go ahead and do those minor modifications, I got to go ahead and work with Caltrans and Federal Highway Administration to basically change the scope a little bit. That's the only thing that they would allow us to do. Anything that is deviating from the original scope basically is a non-starter because they're basically saying, hey, you said this is what you're going to do. Why are you not doing it? If that's the case, we want our money back.
Okay. Can I ask you a follow-up question just to understand the context better?
You can comment.
Just an example. Let's say the scope is the same, but we're going to make both sides of San Antonio up and down a single lane, single driving lane with bike lanes. Is that within the scope or not? That proposing that kind of a change, is that within the scope or not?
Based on what we have submitted as a preliminary layout, we couldn't do that. It cannot, because that would be a material change to what was submitted. So right now, even in the drawing itself, it shows 4 lanes
We're
and
pretty
with a
limited.
bicycle lane.
Okay. All right, I have more questions.
Questions, and it's your,
You good? Let's give your questions out to someone else. Okay.
Yeah.
One. And I'll give you one of mine, and you'll get one of mine, so you all get one more question. Seriously, no, wait,
I'm okay.
I budgeted.
So it seems to me like we're somehow increasing the width of the pavement here. Where's that extra width coming from?
We're not increasing the width of the pavement. We got to stay within what we have out there.
Where are you seeing that, Tony?
Current bike lanes are not wide enough for class 4.
Correct.
So the bike lane got wider. Did that just come from the lane shrinkage?
Well, that's one of the things that we're going to have to figure out is the lanes itself is already 11 foot wide. Per Caltrans standards, 10 is the absolute minimum, but you don't want to get there if it is a truck route. 11 is about where you want to be. That's the sweet spot. So now the question is, do we move the curve face a little bit, or do we have some wiggle room that we could do? Do we narrow the width of the median just 2 feet to accommodate this without impacting the landscaping as well as a high voltage power line there? So these are the things that is going to be really vetted as part of the 30% layout.
And this is exactly the question I'm asking. Are we trimming the median? That's fine.
Yeah.
Don't know. We haven't started the design yet.
Sounds like it's harder to take it out of sides than it is from the middle. Is that fair to say? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we have to look at all options. Are we going to go ahead and narrow the sidewalk, or are we going to narrow the median? Those are some of the things that we're going to have to talk about and see how is it in.
So the outside has mailboxes, deliveries, sidewalk. Moving it outside is no problem. If we move inside, then we're moving median, and what happens to the greenery?
Steven, you froze. You can hear us.
You can hear you.
You're probably not. You just text them. Let me just text them.
He's back.
He is back.
Back. Welcome back.
Next round of questions. One.
Just wait, probably.
Claire?
Do you have a question? So, I have a clarifying question. You were saying something about the businesses as we get closer to El Camino Real and how they use that area for parking. So
Yes.
I wanted to understand, have we already done the study sessions or the research to make sure that we have the right of way and that we cannot expand into any of those areas, either those that you specifically showed or others?
I cannot tell you where the right-of-way line is at this point in time, and that's part of in the schedule. Yeah, on the schedule itself, you'll see that I'm telling the consultant, whoever is going to be doing this, they not only have to do a survey of the whole road itself, but one of the things that they're going to be required to do is reestablish the right-of-way. Where is that right-of-way line?
Okay, so there's a possibility that can change in some parts, potentially.
Yeah. Right now, this road has been around for such a long time, and our record has not been exactly stellar. So we cannot tell you with a definitive, this is what's going on. We would have to literally physically not only go out and survey it, but we're going to have to pull some of the title reports to actually backtrace what is the line, the right-of-way line.
Yeah, that's exactly my question. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Dunn?
Always on this.
Japan.
Alright. Steven, you were talking about pavement lifting. So the tree roots lifting up either the street or the sidewalks. Is there a standard treatment for that? Do we take out the root itself? Or
You just live with it, or if, especially if you're repaving, or what's the remedy for that?
First of all, before we start touching trees, one of the things that we always do is we consult an arborist. We look at the health of that tree, and for that matter, we ask them flat out, how could we go ahead and treat this tree so that we could go ahead and make the necessary modifications and still meet the intent. So an arborist would have to come out there, evaluate the tree. If we cut the roots, can we cut the roots? Or by cutting the roots to go ahead and fix this is going to kill the tree. Then we're opening up another can of worms. So I couldn't tell you at this point in time what we're going to do with those trees, but an arborist is going to have to evaluate all those trees that's going to be impacted because we have to fix those sidewalks and the curb and gutter.
You should still live with the bump in the road, or and just pave over it and still have the bumps there. Worst case, I'm just saying, the arborist says you can't do it because it'll kill the tree.
Well, then it goes back to we need to have a safe bicycle lane. And that bump on the road is also causing a bump on the bicycle lane itself.
So what do we do then if the arborist comes back and says, you can't kill that, take out that root?
Then we're gonna have to make that determination at that time. I couldn't tell you holistically right now, this is their policy. When
Right.
these type of situation is always on a case-by-case basis.
Do we have any experienced this before?
I have cut down trees and replanted trees because of this. And I have also been in a situation where I could actually remove a root because then you would not have an impact on the tree itself. So I've done both. It's all on a case by case.
Was that here in Los Altos or previous experience somewhere else?
This is an experience throughout the state of California. I've done work in Antioch, Merced, Fresno, down in
Okay.
Southern California. So it's a common issue.
All right, thank you.
All right. Directory next.
No, you go. You want to hear your questions.
They haven't asked. So, yep.
Okay, then I'll take
Just a
your-
really quick follow-up. You said towards the beginning that there was some ambiguity in the way the grant was originally submitted, the request for the grant. And for example, what you said was, based on your interpretation of the drawings, it could be a class 1 or a class 4 bike lane in certain places. Does that ambiguity give you some leeway as you work with a consultant to then design something that may work better than being held to a specific spec?
Yes and no. The reason why I say that is because for me to not be very clear on the type of bicycle lane I want out there, they're going to be asking for direction as well. And that's going to have an impact on the cost of what they're submitting to us on what they're going to deliver. The approach itself is going to be totally different in the fact that if it is class 1, we're actually going to be installing curbing out there and try to have some sort of buffer so that you have a multi-purpose trail. What I mean by that is this is something that allows both pedestrian and bicyclists to be utilized. And it's going to have to be the whole length. If it is a class 4, then it's just a matter of putting in some sort of physical barrier like what Caltrans did in El Camino. And that approach is going to be a little bit different. The fact that they could just basically say, okay, I just need to somehow squeeze out another 2, maybe 3 feet on this section to make this thing work. So the how they present, how they design is going to be very different. Now, if you're interested in possibly doing class 1, I could ask them to go ahead and do that as part of the SOQ or part of the 30% layout. But based on how things are developed out there, it's going to have a bigger impact than the right of way.
So if there's a sidewalk that parallels the bike lane the whole way, and it's a class do you have the same kind of limitation?
Can you clarify that question?
Yeah, if you have a sidewalk that pedestrians use the
Yes.
whole way, to downtown, right, which we do, then does that then allow you to do a class one and include the sidewalk as part of the pedestrian walkway?
Okay, I see where you're going. Yes, it's possibility. Because if we combine the sidewalk with the bicycle lane and create a class one, yes. But the problem with that is we have numerous driveways as well as side roads. And usually on a class one, you don't want to have any of that. You just want to have a clean location where you could drive. I mean, ride your bike and pedestrian. Generally, in that type of setup, generally in that kind of setup, you would want to have maybe one, maybe two openings within a half mile rate or within a half mile span. You don't want to have the number of driveways we have out there.
Yeah, okay. Stephen, you mentioned that you're kind of looking for options, flexibility that we have here, like doing this in phases, looking at alternate funding. Is that something that we would sort of have to figure out ourselves? Like, is there any way, any mechanism by which we could go back to like MTC, OBAD, Caltrans, whoever it is, and say, hey, look, we've got some new circumstances. Yeah, okay. So it has to basically be. But so then what avenues can you even explore for phasing? Because you just have to like deliver this project by a certain period of time. Like, what exactly are you looking at there?
So past experience, I haven't. I'll be frank and honest. I have not worked with this MTC for, too much because
Sure.
we typically don't deal with federal funds.
Right.
And other agencies I've been working with, the funding agency, which is usually the MTC of that area, they'll flat out say, okay, we have a cost savings here, we have a cost savings here, and a cost savings here. I might be able to give you guys some of that cost savings. But from my understanding, from my discussion with MTC, this is a big chunk of the regional money that was given that has been allocated. So other agencies are wanting additional funds for their project, but there's two factors that we need to reconsider. If we're going to try to get more money from the federal government for this project, okay, we can only go up at a proportional amount. So if let's say is $1 million, it went up another $1 million. We could only ask for $888,530 or $530,000. We would have to come up with the rest. Okay, so we always have to maintain our 1147 percentage of our contribution. This is assuming the federal government is willing to say, hey, we're going to let you keep that money within the region. It is within their right to say, okay, you guys have a surplus. This other regions, let's say in Nevada, who needs money, we're going to reallocate this money later on because they're already in construction. They need the money. You guys don't. So there are various things that the federal highway does is they actually look at what is being delivered, what is actually having a cost underrun, and which is having a cost overrun, and basically say, okay, if we see a cost underrun, that money is going to come to us, and we're going to reallocate the funds. One of the things the MTC could be saying later on down the road, and I haven't approached them yet, is, hey, we want to try to keep this money within this region. What could you do? So those are the avenues that I have not explored yet because I don't know what the delta is. So before I start looking at all different kinds of avenue, I got to find out what the delta is first. Then I could start that conversation.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for the question, but just follow up quickly. I think, more of a comment than a question, but I want to make it a question because you said, you sort of said that we can't deviate from the plan and there was a spirit or some intentions that we had laid out. The question to me is, I think, how clear are we as to what those are? Because as we go through the discussions about our bike lanes, I think we want to clarify that. So do you have a sense, or can you point to certain sections of the application that the commissioners can kind of read up on to make sure that we understand what that spirit is?
Well, basically the scope of work is one, like I presented to you in the grant application. That kind of gives you the scope of the work itself. And then the layout that was submitted as part of the grant application is the visual of layout.
It's kind of difficult for us to sort of understand that because we have to provide some feedback. But, when you say the spirit and scope, I think we want to be a little bit more specific. So maybe you can think about this and we can come back to it later, during the comment section, or maybe when we have the discussion. Regarding, what you are looking for from the commission as to the recommendations about how we want to approach bike and ped. So that's all. I'll wait for my comments before.
Thank you everyone for your questions. Open up to the public for any questions that you might have. Comments and questions. I'll leave it. You have well, it's not a time limit, but please leave your. Please, yeah. I'm not going to time you officially, but usually it's 3 minutes per question or comment. So please.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have just a quick question, which I think might have been answered by Suresh. Margie Suazo. I am the WOW lead at Greentown Los Altos. So have been working with kids taking their bicycles to school for a long time. And San Antonio would never be the preferred option for most kids, right? And so great for adults if we can create some wonderful bike lanes, maybe for the high schoolers, but I think it's a real challenge for the younger kids and not that valuable from a safe routes to school perspective, in my opinion. I was curious though, just in terms of the efficiency, the width of the road, the amount that you have to take away, whether or not within the scope might be a cycle track. This is on San Antonio instead of a bike lane on each side, a protected bike lane on each side. It seems like you would gain, I don't know how much in terms of foot, but maybe 2 feet. You would have 2 feet less or more if you did a cycle track rather than 2 separate class 4 bike lanes.
I did look into that, and for us to go ahead and put a cycle track there, it would actually be a little bit wider than a standard 5-foot bicycle lane, because a true cycle track has to be able to allow 2 bicycles to travel past each other at one time. So by doing that, we would have to actually shift everything over, and we're kind of constrained in the fact that we have high voltage power line on the median. And not to mention, we would have to basically tear out all the landscaping in the middle and replant new ones as we adjust the whole thing. So it's not just a simple, let's restripe and put a cycle track in. You have to physically move the whole road adjusted so it is on one side or the other.
I realize that. I just wondered if there might be an option, given that it sounds like you probably have to cut into the median on either side anyway, whether or not there's room on one side. But that I know you have, yourself and the consultants on it. So I just wanted to raise it as a possibility. It seems a little more efficient in space.
Yeah, that's one of the things I have already looked at. And the power pole, the high voltage power line is going to be the limiting factor.
All right, thank you. I do remember one other Greentown member in the past basically saying, just take over the sidewalk and can you make that a cycle track, and it might mean some trees are down. So I don't know if you've ever looked at just the sidewalk on one side or the other. I know the driveway issue was mentioned. One side has fewer driveways than other. So just another thought that might come up in public discussion.
So.
Yeah, that thought has already gone through my mind about possibility. I'm also trying to be mindful of the fact that we have residents that backs up to San Antonio. And one of the
Yeah.
asks from those residents is try to maintain as much buffer as possible, given the fact that there is a buffer between the sidewalk and the back of their fence. So I'm trying to balance all these asks from the public itself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Next up, Mark Siddell.
Mark Seidel, I volunteer with Safe Routes to Downtown Los Altos and other groups. Really quick comments. One is I just want to reiterate my excitement about investing in San Antonio Road as a cyclist, as a driver. I mean, I think the road needs it, and this is a great opportunity. So I continue to be excited that the city is committed to this, and it's great to hear that. I was a little concerned after our last meeting, so that's a relief. I remember talking with Marisa, the former person that was the transportation manager, and she had shared about what this application, for what it's worth, she talked about it as a class 4 bike lane. So
good.
I have emails, if you need that kind of clarity, although I'm happy to have flexibility to figure out whatever the best solution is for San Antonio Road. I don't have a dog in that fight. If it's helpful, I have some of that documentation from the past. So that's my comment.
I'm glad to know that my deduction from what was presented was correct then.
Well done, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Mara.
Maria.
Maria, thank you, Maria. Welcome.
Well, I'm Maria Pizza, a resident, and so I'm just kind of curious, a little bit new to the San Antonio Road project, but just listening tonight, I'm just curious to understand that it sounds like we had sort of a grant that was erroneously applied for, or applied for on erroneous terms, and we're kind of trying to fit the peg into the square. Is that how it is? Square, the thing. So it seems to me like the most productive way to approach this is to understand first what we want the San Antonio to be. And I'm just concerned from what I hear tonight that we're going to spend a lot of time, money, energy, public outreach, trying to convince people of something in order to meet the terms of the grant, as opposed to beginning with first what we want and then to see if it actually does meet the grant. And I guess with that, I would follow on with, it sounds like it, and maybe Steve, you can answer this just kind of like, the sticky point of the grant is the bike lane. Is that true? Like that's the aspect of that grant where the error was made, that the staff member that applied for the grant essentially defined something that takes up more space than what we could actually achieve. That sounds like that.
The error that I'm pointing out is the fact that we underfunded this project to meet the whole intent of the whole grant scope. That is where the big issue is. The design itself is doable. The question is how we're going to go about doing it. But the question is, how are we going to fund it? That is the biggest question.
So with that, then, if we have the sort of 11-foot traffic lanes and the minimum amount of bike infrastructure that we could possibly do to meet the terms of the grant, and we maintained our sidewalks, we would still be in compliance with what the grant is then, right?
Correct.
Like I don't remember your name, but like to your point is, it seems like we've already identified in the city that we have much safer bike routes that we could spend some energy directing people to off San Antonio. Because I know from my 35 years living here, San Antonio Road has never been the preferred bike route, especially for students. First day of school, before the first day of school, everyone is, showing their children, and people are coming from other places, other ways to get to school other than San Antonio. However, I have noticed more recently, San Antonio is becoming increasingly popular with pedestrians. And I myself walk back and forth to the train, so I'm on it a lot. I'm, walking on it a lot, and having improved sidewalks, I would say, is as high or if not higher a priority, certainly from my perspective. So I would just offer that. I would say, let's just make sure that we're starting from a point of what we find, you know, we prioritize what we really like about San Antonio and then work from there, because then I do think you'll get a lot of buy-in from the public in terms of funding if we work it that way. I think, you know, Los Altos really do want to see that road improved. So improved, I would say, but not changed dramatically. I would offer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any final comments from the public? Thank you. Now we move into the comment section. Welcome all comments, feedback as we move forward and try to find a path. We will ask us, well, we typically take a break 2 hours in, we're 15 minutes after that break. I don't think we're going to complete our comment section before we get to the 8 o'clock, but at 8 we will take a brief 5-minute break. So I'll call it in when we get there. So with that said, would anyone like to start off with any comments?
Another question, actually.
Okay, continue on and elaborate.
So it looks like we're gonna be tearing up a bunch of median here, and I'm assuming some trees are gonna get whacked. Are those trees gonna get replaced?
We always, any trees that we remove, we always replace it. Sometimes we replace it 1 to 2 or 1 to 4, depending on the type of trees.
You ready to just raise your hand and I'll call in? I'll make a comment. Given the historical information we see from the public regarding this being a class 4 lane, which I'm all for, we have a challenge regarding space and trying to figure out where do we find some extra feet in order to accomplish this. Is it unreasonable to think that class 2 bike lanes are not an option, just given the grant's application structure? So no matter what, class 2 would not be a solution, given they currently have class 2 bike lanes along San Antonio currently.
The scope clearly states that we're going to have a protected bicycle lane.
You can't hear you.
I have to ask whether those actually are class 2 bike lanes, because a lot of them are darn narrow.
No bike lane.
No, there are bike lanes, it's just, it's not clear whether it's
Maybe a old standard bike lane.
old bike lane, I don't think.
Stephen, can I ask my clarifying question or comment? Can you tell us the current bike lane class that is on San Antonio that stretches from Foothill to El Camino? Is it a class 2 or is it an old standard that doesn't fit them all?
It's kind of a little bit of a both.
Yeah.
The reason why I say it's a little bit of both, one of the things that past staff has done is they are trying to slow down traffic throughout the city. And one of the things that they have followed is the Federal Highways Administration's recommendation of narrowing the road. And so what we have done is we have narrowed that road, and anything that was left, we have basically said it was a bicycle lane. And the bicycle lane that we have out there may be wider, maybe narrower, because all they did was basically saying, we want an 11-foot wide lane, and anything that's left is a bicycle lane. So given the fact that we have no barriers, I would say it's close to class 2.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make the final comments.
Yeah. Please.
First, my concern is that we're going to try to squeeze a bunch of things into this grant and maybe end up compromising on what our original intent was. But I think as best as possible, if the staff can approach this as, okay, we're going to stick to the original design and the intent of the project and try to find additional funding for the pavement rehabilitation. So I try to find funding sources thinking that we're going to do the pavement rehabilitation anyways. What would have been our funding source? Let's try to consolidate that, and then separately continue with the project the way we have outlined as part of the grant. Anyways, that's a statement. That's maybe something to be discussed with staff and city council as to how we could make that happen. My second comment is, when we discuss what our input, the commission's input specifically to do with bike lanes and so on, let's also, for the commission, discuss that we get clear about what do we want to achieve with these things. Let's not think about just, class A, class 1, class 2, whatever, but let's kind of also discuss what are the goals, what do we want to achieve,
So let me answer your question and make my comment at the same time. San Antonio is the absolute worst bike lane in the entire city, bar none. And I think our first attempt should be to fix that.
So my comment is that there are a couple of areas where students actually do use the bike lane quite a lot, and that's from the high school to downtown several times a day, morning, afternoon, and lunchtime. And they use it correctly and incorrectly, and that needs to be a priority and to understand what they're doing. And the other place that they use it all the time is within the proximity of Jordan, where they are crossing to get to Egan or to the charter school. I doubt they're going to Santa Rita, but sometimes they are with their parents. And I think those have to be high priority areas to really look at.
Thank you. Mr. Pratt?
Yeah, so my comment is around, something that we have brought up, which is what's changeable and what's not changeable. So I understand this is a federal grant and there are certain parameters and some things can change or not be changed. But I think as part of this process and this research, we need to be sure about what's changeable and not changeable, right? Given the limitations in a space. And even when you brought up the idea of a one lane, Steve said maybe that's not possible because it looks different than their design. But I think, I would like to better understand what is changeable and not changeable from the design, especially because when I read the language of the grants, and it is my understanding that this is the One Bay Area Grant 3, OBAG 3, right? It says the One Bay Area Grant's third iteration guides how MTC distributes federal transportation for funding from the Federal Highway Administration to projects and programs that improve safety, spur economic development, and help the Bay Area meet climate change and air quality improvement goals. And a couple of the goals that they have that are highlighted on the website are safe routes to school and climate initiatives. So that kind of tells me that the priority is the bike lane, the priority is safety, the priority is environmental, climate change kind of air quality improvement goals. So that's a little bit of what I'm trying to understand, and my comment goes around if we have more clarity around what can be changed or not in the design, and we know that the intent of the grant is safety and safe routes to school, then maybe we have more flexibility with that design, even if it's not exactly how it looks and what was submitted. So just I'm looking for more clarity around that. I think that would be helpful, and I do think that there will be very difficult tough decisions because the space is limited. So yes, this grant is about, the environment and all of that, but I do see trees coming down and no one being happy about it. So there's gonna be a lot of trade-offs in this process. So I encourage the commissioners to be open-minded about that and the public to be open-minded because there's gonna be a lot of trade-offs.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll be quick too. Maybe just step back as well and say, I saw some of the conversation from city council meeting. I think it was last night. And I think there's obviously awareness that this is a high priority project, a high priority street for Los Altos and an important opportunity for the city. I think that San Antonio is not in good shape, right? It's in disrepair, and it's also unsafe. And I think it's unsafe on stretches where folks use it currently, like Steve mentioned, and it's unsafe along areas where there's an opportunity for people to use it more. And I think we could look very similarly to nobody considers, El Camino, the first street that they want to go up and down on a bike. But there was obviously a strong rationale for doing some of the work there. And I think we should absolutely be tying everything we're talking about here to how this delivers value for people in Los Altos and why this is something that we want to pursue. But I heard Councilmember Weinberg mention in the earlier meeting that this is probably the largest grant that Los Altos has ever gotten and may ever get, right? And we should definitely be thinking about how can we turn this into something that's gonna obviously be inside the confines of the project that we designed, but something that can deliver a ton of improvement, safety improvement, use of San Antonio, obviously pedestrian cyclists, but I think you're going to see cars benefit immensely from, I think, the things that I see in the description of the scope of the project. So, and maybe once in a generational opportunity to make a ton of safety improvements up and down San Antonio. I think maybe just bears repeating too that like the work that we're doing here has the ability to improve people across San Antonio, not just drive up and down San Antonio, right? And I think from my perspective, like those are some of the least safe crossings in Los Altos and maybe in this peninsula, right? And so let's go after it and let's get it. And like, let's use everything that we can to improve this as much as we possibly can. And there are going to be, anytime you're talking about an arterial that's as core to this city as San Antonio is, we have residents, we have businesses, we have all these considerations that we have to make. And let's get it right, like let's just confront the issues and figure out the best way to resolve them and get it right. So yeah, that's kind of what I just wanted to like re-anchor around. That's it.
I have a quick comment, Stephen. Just doing some quick AI math here, looking at the distance between Foothill Expressway and El Camino Real. We're looking at 2.4 miles on San Antonio. Is that about right? From El Camino, and that's 4 lanes, 9.6 miles. So I asked it to look at Caltrans historical cost estimates. It says for a complete rehab, rip and replace of the entire road, we're looking at $20 million, give or take, if the entire road was to be replaced. If we were to embark on that project in conjunction with this grant, how many years would we have to forego doing basic city maintenance work that we do for mill and overlays? About 5 years. Has it been considered to skip 5 years of basic road maintenance in order to fund this project in the future?
The thought did come through my mind, and that was too much of a sacrifice because then he would have an impact on our Measure B funding for our RMRA of funding from the state. And for us to continue receiving that money, we have to maintain a certain level of PCI throughout the whole city.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one of the things that has already been thought about. And if we were to do that, then San Antonio will be competing against all the other cities. I mean, not other cities, other streets in the city for the maintenance. And we really cannot shut down the whole city just for one road, as important as this is.
So with that shared, have there been any initial discussions or ideas on where this funding will come from? Because that's the first barrier to overcome if we're going to overcome this and do this project without having to return the funds to the federal government. So where have those conversations gone or started?
It's already had it. We already had the discussion.
Yeah, but what can you share with us, I guess? Anything?
What I could share is the fact that we don't know yet,
okay,
because we don't know what the full amount of the cost is. I've already gone through and looked at possibility of there's a section that we need to totally tear out the road and redo it. And then there may be a section where we could just grind it and just repave it again. So that's going to be part of the cost estimate is what are those sections? I know for a fact right in front of City Hall, yeah, I'm probably going to have to do a total reconstruct. But if you go closer to Foothill Expressway, I may just do an overlay because it's a lot of the issue that's being caused is caused by all the trench repairs. As I go closer to Los Alman, there may be a combination of both because I have sections where PG&E just tore up San Antonio and I got to do something major. To there's such a section that is basically having to do deep patch. So the type of treatments that we're going to be doing in San Antonio, we're going to be using every trick in our hat to get it to work. And we're going to be creative in how we do this so that we can meet not only the intent, but like what Council West said, Commissioner West said, this is an opportunity for us to really improve the safety of this road.
Take one more comment and then take a 5-minute break. Commissioner,
I just want to build on that and say I'd like to just go back to what Suresh said, because I agree with him in terms of the fact that we have to keep the rehabilitation funding and this project funding in separate aisles, separate lane silos, because I think that there may be synergies, which Stephen, you can take advantage of by combining the timing and the construction in some places. But I think as long as we keep them separate projects, we won't get ourselves caught up in the cobweb of the total cost is going to be some huge number, because we would have to do the rehabilitation anyway over time.
thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break. Dr. Legs, use the restroom. 802, please.
When we come back.
Please return to the other side.
You got it.
Okay, this is it's still recording, so it's continuous now.
Okay.
And what was the time we have, 8:09?
Yep. 8 or 9 returning, welcome back, we have 4 to continue. Steven, son, are you still with us?
You probably just listen, don't just listen.
I sure am.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you for saying, we have not concluded the discussion topic, so we're just taking a break, but sounds like you're wrapping up, but I do not want to squash this because we need to find momentum forward, so does anyone have any points they'd like to share with the commission? From, a North Star, kind of how we think about this challenge that we face and how we need to move forward with the city?
So we basically have a meeting in May, right? We have to, and then in May and June, so we have 2 meetings and take a break in July.
Right.
So from Stevens, we're trying to get a consultant by, or we advertise as consultant beginning of June.
Yep.
So. And then we're shorting this by July, so we won't have consultant until, that's a August. There's nothing much you can do, I don't know, what do you guys think?
It looks like
So-
the meeting would be like,
There's no other, session wise,
Yeah.
don't get a consultant.
The only, I think my only, question was, I think, Stephen was saying it, that he may be looking for direction from the commission on what we want to do with specifically about the biking and pedestrians and so on. It would, for the discussion among the council, with the commission help in then engaging with the right consultant or creating a work plan with the consultant. It's a question, if that's the case, then maybe we can discuss that, please briefly first. But it's a question for staff. If that's the case, we should try to agendize it.
So we're going to,
Or consultant, is that what you're?
yeah. I mean, for your question and suggestion, I think it's a little bit of both. So Suresh, if we're going to actually work with city staff in a formalized mechanism, we would need an ad hoc subcommittee
Yeah.
in order to have non-commission meeting based conversations with staff in order to proceed. Is that an accurate statement, Arden Stevens? So if that is the case, not on the agenda, we need to agendize it for the forthcoming meeting to set creating an ad hoc subcommittee for this particular topic, which aligns to our work plan. And we would then, people would volunteer to be a part of this, ultimately be the voice of the commission to ensure we have, yes, continuity, right, in those processes. So, anything I took it a little bit from you, but anything you wanted to ask staff?
No,
explicitly?
that's the question of the timing, that is, we should be proactive and get ahead of it, I guess, which is where I'm going with it. And forming a subcommittee makes sense. And then maybe we can have an initial discussion as part of that at the next meeting.
Okay. When we get you potential future agenda items, we'll be sure to bring that up.
And yeah, I think the other thing that I just wanted to mention is from a, I think we may not have a review of the budgeting and what it costs and so on as a commission, but I think the inputs we have provided here are pretty valuable, and hopefully that helps with how the staff might approach the project. But I guess it's a bigger question, because obviously, although I think Stephen is not ready to say what that budget leap is going to look like. But I think it's something that we should probably continue to discuss, that gives us a sense for how we might approach and provide feedback, and the public provide feedback as part of the commission's outreach process as well.
Thank you. Any other comments before we close up this discussion topic? Stephen, thank you for your homework. Thank you for coming prepared to address the laws, limitations, and opportunities we face. And yeah, there's a lot.
And also, I'll include his presentation on the packet, so you guys can,
Oh, that would be good.
it'll be part of it. In the part, yeah, no, it'll be part of the packet. I'll include it, when we send the agenda packet, I'll put it in there, so, by tomorrow, so you could.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so completely move forward.
Thank you. Moving on to the next discussion item, looking at ad hoc subcommittees. We have two items to discuss. 1A, dissolve the 2026 work plan ad hoc subcommittee, and B, create, identify and fix the top 5 streets of concerns for ad hoc subcommittee, which relates to our project goal number 6. Given we are dissolving and creating,
Let's resolve first,
Okay.
right? So, and then, so at least those people who are in that, so could be in the next one.
that's good. How do I should make a motion, or how does this work for?
Yeah, make a motion.
We
Well,
want to take public comments before you do.
fair point, discussion, I guess, needs to be held. Does anyone want to make any, do you have any questions regarding
Yeah.
the dissolution of the 2026 work plan ad hoc subcommittee?
I had a question, just a quick question on this.
Please.
What we're saying is that we'll dissolve the 2026 work plan that we created. But then we'll continue the discussions though as part of our regular meetings, if we got to discuss.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we'll reconstitute a new work plan subcommittee for 2027.
No, it's, that's gonna be later on.
Sometime in
Yeah.
in the third quarter. Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
next one, motion.
Or any comments?
No,
Anybody else any comments on this? Just to be clear, who was a part of the, ad hoc committee? Commissioner Clara, Commissioner West, and myself. So the 3 of us were involved in the 2026 work plan ad hoc subcommittee.
I'll make a motion to dissolve the work plans ad hoc subcommittee for 2026.
Thank you in a second. Perfect. Stephen, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Excellent. Next on the agenda, create an ad hoc subcommittee to identify and fix the top 5 streets of concerns.
And we do have this thing that we have usually do. Just everybody's clear about the supplement. Just
Is
basically,
this?
yeah, just to make it official.
Okay, well, before we open it up for comments, commissions members currently serving on an ad hoc subcommittee are not eligible to serve on another ad hoc subcommittee simultaneously. The motion of establishing must include that the ad hoc subcommittees, 1, is comprised solely of members of the commission established the ad hoc subcommittee. 2, consists of less than the quorum of the commission. 3, includes a defined purpose and a time frame to accomplish the purpose and is less than 1 year in duration. 3, will automatically terminate when the final report is given to the commission or when the time frame established by the commission is met, unless extended by the commission at a public meeting. Next, will not be reestablished or renewed in multiple years. And lastly, is advisory in nature and not established to work on an item where continuing jurisdiction exists. And this Brown Act notifications on how this, in accordance with the Brown Act, the ad hoc subcommittee do not need to post notice of their meetings or hold meeting in public unless directed to do so by the city council. Yeah, that's cool. Reminder for us all. Any questions about creating this ad hoc subcommittee? Why are we doing it?
I think, yeah, question, I think we should clarify, just the scope of the work. Let's discuss the scope of the work first, see what you want to do. And then, given that there's a planning cycle, where does it fit into our 2026, 27, 28 planning cycle of the output of that work?
Yes. So from our last meeting, the intent of this was to create the subcommittee so people could focus on using the information that Tony had generated. You could see from prior public comments and emails. And the intent was for the next meeting for us to have an agenda item where we would ask the public to come and share areas of interest like we received today for the 2 topics about safe locations on immediate or unsafe or challenged locations on East and Main. And then also looking at the San Antonio Junction for a pedestrian shuffle or scramble. Those would be 2 ideas, right? So the idea is to bring that together enough to begin to create the mechanism to move it forward. So that was what we discussed and why this was even proposed. That's the background, but
And I think we need to be pretty efficient and expedient about getting this done? Because where does it fit into the planning cycle? When do we want to get this into the planning cycle?
So, yeah,
So the 2026, well, 2026 projects are done, are fixed, and I think, Stephen, you're going out to bid already, I guess, or we gotten bids back, if I'm not wrong. So whatever we're discussing here would be for the 2027 cycle, correct?
Correct.
So which basically means like you need to get this thing. So this has to be done by when, the third quarter of this year?
yeah, in according to work plan, in Q3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing that is kind of a wrinkle on the new list is the fact that right now we're doing a new revised, we are doing a PMP right now. We're reassessing all the roads. So based on the finding may have impact.
I made a note, may I say something?
Yeah.
I made a note, when we were talking about this last time, that one of the things that was unclear to me was what the criteria was to be within the top 5 streets. And I don't know that we as a commission ever really talked about what are the top 3, what are the top 4, whatever it is, that we would say, yes, it meets that criteria.
That'll be part of the work of the subcommittee, and yes, we discussed this.
Yeah, that would be intent, right? The intent to bring this into the subcommittees for them to create metrics by which we determine roads that we deem unsafe or something that we want to address. So we build that rubric, and we ultimately have a means by which we can measure either from cities' evaluations and take into account anecdotal input from the city citizens. So that's yet to be determined, but that's a fair point.
Okay, and that would be one of the objectives of the subcommittee.
Or at least steer discussions within the commission, right? At least steer the discussions here. Help make that happen.
As was read from the commissioner, ad hoc subcommittee guidelines, right, is to create a report ultimately. So, without formalizing it, right, but ultimately it's for us to think about how do we think about these things more long term. Perhaps the Complete Streets Master Plan has a rubric for us to use, which is our guiding documentation, and for us to ultimately decide like how else we think about these things, right? So it's safe routes to school overlays. If we weigh certain factors heavier than others, so therefore we deem it higher on the list.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever joins this ad hoc subcommittee can help, define.
It's not the exclusion, John.
And I correct myself, it's project 8, not project 6. I think so. Please, for that. Any other questions or comments?
Do we, this is again a question for staff, so we have some idea of how we want to approach this. Do we have to, does the identification of these 5 streets have to dovetail with any of the CIP projects, any of the normal CIP project lists? Or do we say, no, we identify these 5 and then we'll find synergies later?
Like, why put in a working effort to identify something that may ultimately not be addressed? Is that?
Well, but it also gives you saying these are 5 priority projects we have to identify anyways.
Right.
And then say we can adjust it. So the question is, I guess, how do we approach this? Because there are some they require more than just normal resurfacing and so on. They require other things, and we have to find that out too.
Correct.
Well, I think that comes, that would fall as the umbrella criteria.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And our subcommittee has the ability to have meetings with Stephen and to work with them on their work plan and figure out how we blend the intent of the project and this goal with city work. But
I think it's valuable to identify, really unsafe conditions, even if we don't have an immediate solution sort of in mind, or if it might be outside of the, pure scope of the city to address it, I think that seems useful, like I think our commission can look into those issues, even if we don't have the unilateral ability to solve everything or immediate resolution. Sure.
Right. And I think the other thing that we should think about is things that we didn't consider in the past, but might consider given timing of major projects that would render a street to make that list. So just as an example, the San Antonio project is going to shut down bike lanes for some period of time while it's being done, right? And will potentially affect traffic. And what will that mean to other streets that go from El Camino to downtown with the expressway very close by? So, those are some things that we might want to consider, and we've got a 2-year window to say, this might or might not make it.
Comments or questions? Okay.
Mr. P, how long can we expect this approval to be?
The least our anticipated completion is the end of Q3, so that brings us to September 30th would be the final date for completion. I would like to believe in that span of I guess 5 months, right? That the subcommittee would be able to hopefully quickly provide guidance and timing, but also with the idea of having public comment next week, right? For us to have that public list and then ultimately to create criteria and proceed forward. So
And just a reminder, if you have, how many, whatever, your members cannot be in another subcommittee.
yeah, if
So if you guys are gonna create another one, just, be mindful
Yeah,
of
so
that.
because I think
Yeah, so,
that's why I was approaching this. There are 2 other subcommittees we're already anticipating this year, right? One is
yeah, that's
the San Antonio, and the second is
Yeah.
2026,
So,
2027 work plan.
How many can we have at one time? Just one?
No, you could have two.
You just have the members can't be, you
Not
can't
over-
be
yeah.
you can't be in two subcommittees.
So that we may be running into a little bit of a conflict.
Yeah, that's what I mean, so let's be mindful of that.
the ad hoc subcommittee for the work plan doesn't start or the beginning of, I think, November of the year, if I'm not mistaken, so.
Oh, we were late last time. I think we wanted.
You might want
Yeah, I mean, September would be a time frame, but by that time, one would start in.
And we'll also have new chair, so.
And then the San Antonio subcommittee.
Well, according to the bylaws, cannot last longer than a year, so it would have to be structured as such unless extended otherwise due to whatever circumstances, so. Yeah,
So because we have 7 members and possibly only 6 in September, starting September.
what this would be a reduction in commission based off this.
City council's decision. So we may not have space for all 3 subcommittees. So although subcommittees can be 2 people. A minimum of 2, so we could still make it happen.
We can limit this to 2 months, we could.
Right, exactly. You don't have to finish it in
A
September.
forever project, right?
We can always say we're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Work takes as long as you give it, right? Whatever the law is. So if we give it all the time in the world, it'll take all the time. If we say we have a scope of 2 months, we would like to do this review, take input and do a quick turnaround. So, right, that's for us, but I hear your.
Yeah, sure. I'm just saying, let's put everything.
Human resources, people's time.
So who wants to be on this?
Well,
How you have one quick?
I'm gonna put up for a vote, given the discussion, just to make sure that we agree. So someone like to make a motion to create this ad hoc subcommittee for project number 8.
If you make a motion, you have to be on committee. Create, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
Just before we do that, let's kind of make sure that we can do this without a working pair. Is it not possible? That do we really need it?
Oh, good question.
Oh, instead of doing that, you want to just create a working.
The benefit of having the ad hoc subcommittee is being able to work with the staff. And we have then the ability to have a meeting with them, at the time, going
A little bit
to,
more formal.
yeah, a little more formal, getting their input, understanding what their criteria are.
Staff will refuse to work with us.
I don't have it yet.
That's the key.
As a commissioner, we're lucky to have great citizens.
Absolutely.
So are we making a motion or to create one or what?
Okay, well, we have the motion,
Oh, that's,
yeah.
the commissioner,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a big motion, I
Second?
working period.
I've heard,
Working period, couldn't switch it to an ad hoc.
I thought I heard.
Then you're gonna have to do it, again, we have to put an agenda, create another, you know what I mean? So it's a timing wise. This is the best time to create one. Yeah, it's gonna.
Is there a process to? Let's say we have 3 people now and say one person wants to come off of the subcommittee, subcommittees.
Oh, we're gonna have to make, because it's a formal subcommittee, we're gonna have to make it formally take that person out. You see what I mean? So everything's formal.
Does that mean?
Now, we have to, what was it?
Reset the time person, having less than a year?
Yeah.
So you would reset the time period. You would have to even go longer.
so Suresh, to address your resourcing questions, which is good, and no one actually assigned or signed up or raised their hand for this particular project. We have a second. We have a motion. So, if there, I'll ask this. Currently, is anyone willing and able and interested in taking on this project in an ad hoc subcommittee?
Well, let me go on, so I'll make, with, Commissioner Steinbrenner. It says, the motion of establish will not be reestablished or renewed in multiple years.
Oh, okay.
So you basically got 1 year. So that's what we gotta be careful. That's what the town terms a tough one. You might just do work. Vote on that.
Let me ask you a question.
Right, so if it is long, it's gonna be longer.
Let's just talk for a second about how, not specific dates, but given the scope of work for this commission, what would you expect? When would you expect to get a result?
I don't think this particular project, identifying them based off of public input, if we were to look at past input over the past year or even past 6 months, it's very clear where our focus areas are. So that's the easy part. The part that needs alignment is working with city staff to say, what is your criteria by which they look at unsafe conditions? So we know how traffic engineer is looking at this, and then we have a rubric, and we say, great, here's a long list of unsafe or questionable routes and streets that we need to look at as a commission. Does this fit this rubric? Do we address this? So when public comes like we've had, recent re-asked from a resident on Portola in front of Bolus and Egan, right? Like very adamant about the unsafe road conditions and putting in bike lanes, various places, right? In the end, we need something by which to engage residents with capacity or not. Right now, we just listen, and what do? We just listen. I mean, I've been on 3 years. I've seen us take no action on anyone's input, except for things that Stephen already did.
That's not true. I mean, I think the city staff does. Digest a lot when it comes to,
Yeah, but we are not recommending areas that we would like to work with city staff to fix these areas based off of these criteria. And this is my 3 years, maybe I'm being crude, but I sit here and I really wish we would do something. I would like to provide guidance.
it's like you're volunteering for this.
I'm happy to say
That each of us take notes about what we hear when the public comments take place. But to my knowledge, I have yet to see a database that captures those that a subcommittee, for example, could actually go take a look at and say over the past 18 months, right, what are the ones that got the most concern?
You should put Jim Wayne on the subcommittee.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's another topic of all the public comment we get, right? How do we manage that aside from actually just being saying, how do we evaluate criteria and how do we proceed? But if it's a one person interest, of that trying, and that's could be potentially an issue.
Yeah.
We don't get a second, that's okay, or if we do get a second, we can push the vote, and then if we don't want to form an ad hoc subcommittee, there are other means by which we as
We don't have
commissioners.
to form this, right?
This is just a means to like put some, you know, some directly energy behind the goals when we set that. So I guess I'll, is there a second? And if there's not, then
To create the second for what?
is there a second for the motion to create the ad hoc subcommittee for this particular topic?
We created second, but I'm not. Okay,
Okay, so you think that's like,
Second, let's bring it to a vote.
Yeah.
All right, you're in favor of creating an ad hoc subcommittee that you believe this commission could,
Can we hold for 1 second just for our benefit? Like, the motion, I think is, my motion is
Yeah.
conditional on us having members on. Exactly. I just want to be conditional on people volunteering to be on something.
you said conditional, okay.
Conditional,
I
yeah.
think that's, so you'll have.
It's conditional, okay. Do we have a second?
So you're saying pick the members first?
Already.
Yes,
No members.
we've moved.
Let's put your vote now. We'll get the second, we got a second.
We got 3 more things to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Who, we brought, yeah,
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
to create this, is that,
On, against?
okay, so,
Okay, so we have the ability to create it now.
Right.
Do we have, and I will
okay.
be one person to help identify these unsafe streets. Anyone else want to join? If there's not 2 people, then we don't. We have 2.
Perfect. Anybody else? That's it? Is you go too?
I just want to make a comment. I would love to, but I think there's an opportunity to work on San Antonio.
Yeah, another thing,
Exactly.
exactly. Because you're kind of limited if you join us.
Yeah,
That's why you're asking about dropping out.
Yeah, gotcha. Yep, so, and that, so we got 2? Okay.
So the result subcommittee, and have you be a working parent staff?
I would like to work.
They want to work staff.
There was a benefits.
No, I'd like to work with city staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I hear you. And I believe it's not a mountain on a molehill. We have enough information to create a framework for this and proceed forward and present it to the commission within 2 months is my hope, Stephen, and we should be able to proceed forward. Great, thank you. Moving on to the next one, 2026 work plan review for general reports on any work items. Does anyone have any work items that have been accomplished, worked on, thought about, they want to report?
I can talk really briefly about Commissioner Roa and I had a chance to talk earlier about, I think it's work item number 1. No, sorry, not work item number 1, work item number 2, yeah. And this is on signage and wayfinding maps throughout Los Altos, especially around Lake House School. And short update, we're working on a plan. We're working on how we engage with best practices from surrounding areas and looking at sort of divvying up the different areas that she and I can actually go see and sort of take responsibility for, and how we can feed that into ultimately recommendations for priority streets that get improved and that we can hopefully put some good or just improved confidence and awareness folks that are taking these routes. And I think we've got a good path to do that. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that. You're welcome to.
No, I mean, in our mind, we're looking at timeline, and the goal would be to be able to do some sort of presentation or recommendation in October-ish timeframe. Because then that gives us, beginning and an end, and to leverage existing documents, right? Like the presentation that Tony did for the commission, the complete streets plan and safe routes, so that we're not reinventing the wheel, but actually leveraging the work that has been done at the commission and documents that are existing.
Absolutely. And I think I've been dodging Tony on item number 1, and I don't know, Tony, if you want to say anything about just your sense of how you see the work, but no, I think major update for now, other than that Tony and I will get together and work through next steps. Thank you. Yeah.
So I want to talk to various schools and reach out and see what they think. That seems like the first step. We've got a lot of other data to work with. And then Art, we were going to talk about how we actually update the document.
Oh, yeah.
Or the document, the streets, yeah,
I was hoping for a Word file.
yeah, we don't have one, it's just PDF version and basically that's it, we can't.
What did that come out of?
The thing is, it's a plan, right? So Steve and I will have to talk to them, like, how do we update or at least add to it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there wasn't any plan to be added to the computer.
Yeah.
We'll get an update on it, but we'll definitely discuss that.
I think that's something, Tony, you and I can maybe talk through, and for sure we want.
Yeah, exactly.
Input from,
You guys, you
yeah.
guys could put all the stuff that's been done,
Yeah.
send it over, and then we could, how could we incorporate it into?
Which document are you?
He's talking about the whole.
This is that
The only reason to
one.
ratify that is city council is ratified.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're asking, yeah.
That's the question, okay? If it's not a Word document, what is it? PageMaker?
Oh, I see.
I see.
Is there a staff member that we can hand edits to, who can do things and?
I think for us to,
I think, so it is
Yeah.
an adopted plan, right?
Right.
We can't edit that. We could add to it to another things like updated.
yeah,
We could do a list of updated things that we've done, that's been done. So at least it's more transparent, like that, that's what they say.
So
Exactly.
the example would be changes to the general plan before this replanning. I've had stages in which the general plan was modified, was that amendments or change log, change log. But you're looking for the documents, you could ultimately play around with it. And
No, we can't.
is that what you're asking for, if I understand you correctly?
Yes, because this had to have come from some computer somewhere.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't,
yeah,
yeah.
sir, you were on the commission, right?
Yeah, I was,
Yeah.
and even when we did there, even then, we did not have access to the editable document.
Exactly. There's no editable document.
Who did?
He was a consulting company.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Exactly.
Did the consulting company give you
I'm
source?
pretty sure the staff has access to it somewhere.
I've never seen.
You've never seen.
I just know there is the plan. I don't have the editable, whatever they have. Like, I'm not.
This is my question, I think you're getting at this, this is
Yeah.
preventing you from doing the work to like, you said, and PDF or page editor or preview.
I would like.
Commissioners, if I may, those are prepared by a consultant. We could try to reach out to them and see if we could get a copy of the digital file.
Thank you.
It was all that concern.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen.
We'll
Any
get
other representatives or questions?
There's no.
I think something that'd be interesting to know for your working pair work is how we actually make changes to the work, to the completion master plan. Like, what is the process by which in the mechanism you would actually change it, right? So you know, recommendations you would make, but then if those were to be changed or updated, similar to the general plan, is there a rubric staff that?
We haven't really discussed that, so.
Okay.
It has to come from city council.
I think so.
Yeah, but if we as a commission make recommendations to council, so if that was the case, is there a framework by which we make recommendations of like, here's completion master plan, here's the suggested edits that we want to make and incorporate for the future?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm more of a process than like,
I think it would be an engagement with city, it would be like a commission exercise, right? Like, I guess like Tony and me would maybe report out on what we found, and we in commission would discuss and develop that, and
Yeah, you do have a council liaison?
Yes.
You could ask your questions. That's probably the best person to contact.
I think.
Larry,
Close to him now.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Larry, let me know you watch these videos, please engage in this stuff. You tell me.
But I mean, you do have a council liaison and you can consult. That makes it a person you should keep in touch.
I actually suspect city council will be watching this video.
They do.
Everybody, yeah.
All right, so may I ask you a question?
Please.
So the one that I assigned myself to there's a two-way, the West talked about two-way, I assigned myself 2B, which was improved pedestrian and
Number three,
multimodal
is that number three?
parking, yes,
Okay.
downtown accessibility.
Yeah.
Right, that's
Yeah.
the same. Right,
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
this one right here.
number three.
Yep, Steve, I'll do it, yes.
So I've talked to Mark Seidel, and, when I look at the three bullet items under there, the only one to me that wouldn't take a ton of resources, or a change to the general plan, or something where there are already so many fingers in the pie that I don't make any difference at all, is A, which talks about bike racks and safety. And so what I would like the commission's permission to do, because I have some ideas, and I'm going to talk to some of the people who are involved in the downtown coalition about them. And if we have a couple of things that seem interesting, I'd like to be able to go to the park commission, for example, or the planning commission, and just get their feel for how they view those. Because I think that it would require their buy-in in order to do it. And then come back and report back to the commission.
You're asking for permission.
To be able to represent the commission.
Oh, yeah.
At the park commission or the planning commission.
Are there any objections to Stephen representing us?
No, that's actually good. That's actually a great idea. The only thing, it would be nice to know what you might be discussing with them.
Well, I could preview that. With the commission.
Yeah, well,
Once we're there.
Yeah, send it to me, and I look forward to all of it.
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
I don't think we need a vote on that.
No, there's no, this is a real job. This is a general discussion.
Yeah.
And looking at anyone else, Claire Westwind, Tony West, Stephen, for myself and Tom, we have not begun any work regarding the road shoulders and parkways for pedestrians, so something that Tom and I can talk on and figure out timing, what that looks like.
We also have the Dr. City staff.
We can also discuss with Stephanie about, I know our staff liaison, Lady Lane, isn't in favor of this. So he's excited to see us take this on.
So, quick question about this. I think, given that, we have the next topic, which is the general plan updates are coming, right? I think this is something that has to go into the general plan, as part of the general plan, I guess. Okay. I'm just guessing. That's something for us to know. That is, if you make some of the recommendations and we work on those, how does it transfer into actual action? Does it have to go as part of the general plan update, or what's the other process? So that's something would be nice to know.
Yeah, I think the intention, based off what I know right now, there's city policy that exists that governs how the city works with citizens on maintaining easements. It's loosely structured and not well defined. And ultimately, if we are able to, in our report that we're creating, is showing here's what the current conditions are and or a status of the current city policy, asking for recommendations for efficiencies is my intended outcome. So it's like, here's where there's barriers to our citizens walking safely on roads for these factors, blah, 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 and then however the city chooses to take that, I guess.
Yeah, then how do you formalize it?
In a report, I think it says, create a report, right? So
we create the report,
Uh-huh.
and then what is the process for the city to formalize that? What is the action on the other end? Does it have to become part of the general plan, or is it what is the mechanism? Something that would be good to know.
A good question, Stephen or Art, do I need to know how that would work? I guess
Is there an opportunity for us to, since we're discussing the general plan or the city? And then and the second thing is also, I think, going back to question number 3, project number 3 with downtown. I think we narrowed down the downtown project because I think we initially kind of discussed about just the overall circulation within downtown. And now that the general plan has been opened up, and I think a lot of us spoke about it at the joint meeting, is there the scope to look at that work item and see if there's more work to be done?
We can.
Commissioner, from my understanding, talking with the planning commission, I mean, the planning department, they are probably looking at the traffic circulation as part of their general plan later on in this year, is what they told me. Because that's one of the
Later on.
questions that's one of the questions I kept on asking them, is when are they gonna start addressing this?
All right, so that's something for us to keep an eye on and maybe expand. We need to that.
Thank you. Any other discussions or general reports for the work items? No. Thank you all for your work. Either past, present, or future, as we proceed forward. Next up, number 7, a special joint commission meeting debrief. The commission will debrief and discuss the general plan study session. I think you were all there, which is wonderful. Not able to attend. But we'll just open it up for questions or comments regarding this from city staff, or any comments people want to make as a whole.
Are we really, there's something about us need to approve the minutes of the meeting?
Yeah, there was a minutes, we'll approve, it was set late, so we'll approve for next.
Okay, because you sent an attachment, but that did not actually have the discussion.
Yeah, because it was still, because we were gonna have it, we were gonna have it, right, so it's just a minutes, there was a draft minutes that we have to approve.
Okay.
Will be on the next, because it was just too late for the pack, it was just too late for the agenda, so. But I did set it. I think, you guys should see it.
Did you watch the video?
Unfortunately not.
Curious.
Yeah,
It's a great question.
we have to put it on the agenda.
I can start just to hold the feedback. I thought that we were well represented. There, no question about it. It was much higher level than I thought it was gonna be. And it was very clear that the commissions, based on, we were the second one to go. The planning commission went first. And it was very clear from the way that it was structured that the input that they were looking for was very broad and very high level, meaning that it went beyond just the charter of what the commission is. It was what are the major visionary things that we would like to see change in our city, and it included private and public. One of the things that I took away that I found extremely positive was that the way that it worked is they went around to each member of the commission that was present and asked for comments from individuals. And as I looked through it, there were 3 individuals from the planning commission of the ones that were there that talked about stuff that had to do with safe routes to school. One specifically was the risk of crossing arteries around downtown. One was bike safety in terms of safe routes to school and downtown. So downtown came up twice in that. And they talked about changes mandated by state housing laws and how that would impact them. And there was an issue with transportation and public transportation as to how, as a planning commission, they would look at that in terms of what their overall charter was and recommendations in terms of the general plan. So I found that to be extremely helpful. There was a lot of discussion about thinking about what we have to do in the future, and about there was an awful lot of discussion about the need to preserve and add green space to the city. So those are the notes that I took.
Yeah, I think I agree. I was just I was saying, Sam, I was surprised that the planning commission spent so much time on transportation, the streets and the street safety. And I think that's on it goes to show that, it's on everybody's, radar. And that's, people see that as the number one issue and the opportunity for us to improve on. So it's just, which is a lot of support for that. I was not expecting that. I thought there would be more discussion on housing and so on, but I think it all comes down to that we can have more housing, but then our streets are not safe, then it compounds the issue. So
Well, and I also think they're also, as a planning commission, they're thinking of density. So more density, more people, that means the streets also will have more traffic. They have to think about it.
And parking came up, I forgot that, parking came up,
everything's got a little complication, we're all.
Yeah. And the zoning.
E-bikes came up.
Residents.
From the opportunity we have with the general plan being reviewed and timelines, are there things that you all heard that you would shift or move into the current projects that we have for prioritization, or was it still at such a high level that it didn't actually lend to?
No, that should have been a higher level, but the one thing that, and I got a really good response from Art, is that I asked the facilitator, who was one of the consultants, I said, are you familiar with the Complete Streets Master Plan? And he gave a kind of a cursory yes, but it wasn't convincing. So my is that
He opens that he has not gone through it.
yes. So I think that one of the things that if either staff, I think staff has to be the ones that do it, can encourage the consultants to do is actually go through that Complete Streets Master Plan. Why not?
Because it's obsolete.
No, that's the question is to whether we want to update it. Yeah.
But we want to update it, but I think if you go through it just with the major categories that are in there, then from a general plan perspective, they'll see the things, because the reality is that each one of those major areas, the content, right, is obsolete, and that we haven't done a lot that was called for. Some of it may no longer be relevant, but each area is a critical area. And that's why I think when you look at the general plan in total, it will give them a sense as to the comprehensiveness and the importance of streets to the city, and that it has to be given a focus within the general plan.
It's not relevant because half of it is done.
But
It's not a plan, it's a fait accompli.
But they, their job is to be able to ascertain that when they do the new general plan.
So there are two things in the
And they can meet with staff and go through that.
There are two things that Complete Streets Plan. I think there are specific projects that we need to work on, but then there's also the high level goals that are set to say why you need to work on this. And those goals still remain the same. But I think I made the comment that even when we created the Complete Streets Master Plan, we have to pare down what we set out to accomplish, right? And that paring down has to go back and re-expand and say, things about specific. One of the goals we were thinking about is how do we connect different parts of the city? Safe routes to school is kind of a minimum set, right? But then connecting the remaining part of the city, and that's the criteria for doing that still exists in the plan as to how we go about it.
That's right.
I think that's kind of where, but I agree with you. I think the projects are done. So then what is the next? Right? What do we do?
That is the right question.
And even though if you, like, for example, if you look at the maps of the safe routes to school, they look like spaghetti colored, if you really look at them, for purposes.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the maps aren't what's critical. What's critical is that we actually do identify what are the safe routes to school, and move forward. And that's, I think that's what they're capable of. And I agree with you, goals are critical. So they haven't changed very much.
For the fact that they had joint sessions with individual commissions through your time, correct? What ask is there of us at this point in time, aside from what occurred in that meeting? Is there anything that we're supposed to do? Is there a follow-up? Is there any impact?
I was actually going to mention that next one. There was not, so there is no specific ask.
Then why were we there? I mean, it's
Well,
not.
well, they took our inputs and I was a little surprised, but I think as, Commissioner Katz was saying that they took it at a much higher level than we thought we were there for.
The early stage plan.
Very early. It's fine. I mean, this is a plan that's supposed to be done in 2030.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
So the plan will be done in 2030.
And I think the vision for Los Altos 2050.
2050 is the vision, 2030 is the plan.
So it's like-
One question specifically. When the facilitator was introducing their objectives, he said, we're talking to you because we want to talk to all the different areas of the city. Right? We're having focus groups with citizens, we're talking to staff, and we want to get input from the commissions so that we cover all the ground. That was the reason for that.
I kind of think where I was going to take this next is, I don't know if the commission will be overstepping our charter in saying, why don't we discuss at the commission as to what we would like to see as part of the general plan? That is, is there an opportunity for us to provide input into that plan? Because this is 2030, I mean, there's going to be work being done to what? So is there an opportunity for us to say, okay, we didn't think about this high vision, maybe as a commission we discuss and create a kind of a umbrella plan that we can then say, this is what the commission thinks. But I don't know if that's, I mean, I don't want to, was that?
That's better.
It's a question in staff, and so then because always.
Yeah, so, would we initiate that to Larry? Would you help us with that, or just for like understanding guidelines and, guardrails? for us?
You could reach out to them and see some staff.
Yes, I'll take that on.
That's fine.
I'll take that on, I'll email Larry Lang, and then, depending on the reply, if you can add the rest of the commission in, so they can see the response, and I can go from that. So. Does that work for the commissioners, so we know where we have impact and input?
Sure.
Caroline, you're here, you're a single member of the public, any public comment you would like to add or contribute to this conversation?
I'm here partly representing, I work with a group of students and, high school students, and they're very busy right now, as usual. I just, really love it when you guys focus on safe routes to school. That app keeps crashing on me. I've tried it. It would be kind of neat if that would actually work. It's weird the developer got back to me. So
nice.
somebody's still kind of working on it. That's really it. I just, please think about our student safety.
I have a follow-up question. That app, is that actively being used by students?
I don't think so.
Don't think so, okay, but you're recommending that we kind of bring it back up? Ask,
Maybe.
yeah.
It is right there, goal number 2.
Yep.
Mobile app program. So I look to Wes and Clyde for your work. I just started talking, I guess, and that's the topic, just bring it back, but thank you. I'm trying to move us along, it's 9 o'clock, and I was going to meeting with you all, but I know you all have this meeting. So I have an action item to follow with Larry Lang. Is there any final comments on the joint session? No. Thank you. Next up, VTA Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council, VPAC, representative for 2026-2028 term discussion. I'm ready to see you.
Yeah, so I sent you guys the bylaws. So basically, VTA emailed the city manager asking basically, who's going to be representing for the 2026 to 2028, starts in July. Steve's already, recommended that we have one of the commissioners be a representative, which is, so again, this is basically a decision who would, we don't have to vote tonight. Exactly. So I mean, but we got to have somebody lined up, because the thing is, the city manager does have to sign who's going to be the next. So
Do we have a list of responsibilities and?
I think the bylaws, I think you meant the bylaws, I think it was all written out, what the responsibility, as part of the
Details is pretty.
Yeah, exactly. It basically tells you. That's why I said that. So, make sure you read the bylaws and then we can decide on the next, because we gotta get somebody, assigned, because it starts in July 1st. And MBTA is basically waiting for our answer.
So the pre-pack is about 16 people, is that right? 16? There's one from each city.
One for each
City and one from a bunch of different agencies.
Yeah.
And then Stacy Banerjee's term ends end of June.
And
So this would be the
July, and they'll be for 2 years. And again, you're not, we can replace the person. I think that was one of the things is you're not stuck there for 2 years. If you decide I can't do it anymore, then we can select another person. But we just have to do a form of it, right? We're gonna do it. And then the city manager will, sign it like it's even. So we have another person. So that's basically
anyone considering it?
anybody consideration. I guess, Stacy did give you some, like one day, remember that she gave you some, dates. I think they meet once a week.
Yeah.
Remember?
Well, once a month.
Yeah, once a month.
It's on the website, there's a structured list of ideas and where they meet, which is in the county building, somewhere up at Tasman or somewhere in like that. Well, what I'm gonna recommend is that if you read the bylaws, if you're interested, we will bring this to, put on the future agenda item for a vote, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up because we did just receive the letter.
So what happens if now the commissioners sign up?
As I understand it, because Stacy is informing, Stacy would
You
represent the city.
can, but again,
The city's intent is.
it's very good to have someone who's going to commission to represent.
Stacy is from the future.
Was.
We'll put it back.
So, but
But
anyway,
again, yeah. I just had to put that in there, so you guys.
no, of course, it's important.
So, because the city manager is expecting the, assign.
So our homework, please review it.
Yeah, exactly. Just read the bylaws and then,
And possible participate. Yeah, if you're able and willing and you care about it, then.
exactly. So I think May would probably be, the next meeting would probably be the best, choose somebody. Because if you do it by.
Hypothetical.
Yeah, we actually, we can do late for that,
But no, I'm saying, in the event no commissioner wanted to or was able to be.
You would recommend this to us, and then we would go back to the city manager and see what.
Yeah. Is it possible to open up to a citizen at large that was extremely passionate about Lake?
I think that is a possible.
Within have a formal structure for reporting to us,
Exactly.
giving us opportunities.
Yeah. But again, you wouldn't have to recommend this to us, we would go back to the city manager,
Oh, with the commission member?
Well, you guys would just discuss that, nobody else, so what else can we tell the,
No, what I'm saying is with the commission, then can the commission make a recommendation on that so and so?
sure, I think we can go back and see what happens.
We could open it up to.
Is it all- yeah,
We could
but always
open it up to
recommend
agenda and
that.
ask people if you want to apply, and
Nominate.
then they could come and give a talk.
But again, the ideal person is from the commission.
I.
The ideal person is from the commission.
Maybe I'm wrong, I'm not seeing people back in there right now.
Can I just really quickly give like a pitch, maybe?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for anyone who might be considering doing it, if you have the time and capability, like, my sense is that Stacy, did it for a long time and has enjoyed it, right? And I think DTA is working on really important stuff. And it's really important for Los Altos to have a voice on that BPAC. They are working on things that are absolutely critical for the city and things that we can't resolve just within the Police Street Commission or even on the city council. So like, think about like everything along Foothill Expressway that they're working on. And it's an opportunity for us to weigh in, influence the direction of that work. And these are like large scale projects that impact obviously like the county, Santa Clara County, right? And but for sure make big impacts on Los Altos. So I think it's a cool opportunity. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes. Yeah. So I guess we'll come back to it.
Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda, for a decision.
Yeah, exactly.
And across the scope.
Okay, so I just want to bring up to make sure it worked right, so.
I really appreciate it. Next up, city staff updates.
Well, I have something, We recently approved, new, those rectangular rapid flashing beacons along 3 streets. The first one is, following week on Fremont, which you guys, I think is part of the Big Chief Master Plan. So we just, so that's gonna be, we just ordered it, so it'll take about 2 to 3 months to get it ordered, installed, and have flashing on Fremont. The other one, this San Antonio project is an ongoing thing. We have San Antonio and Alma Court. There's an existing crosswalk there, so we are gonna be putting, so we're gonna improve that the crosswalk. And the other one is San Antonio and Yerba Buena Avenue. There's also existing crosswalk already.
So it's not the things that flash on the road itself.
No,
It's like a stop line?
Yeah. It's basically the rectangular, it's on Mount Hamilton, about.
They got one in Sunnyvale on El Camino.
We have a couple on San Antonio.
But I've seen the stops at the.
Not the stop sign, but they're basically rectangular, the flashing beacons.
Sunnyvale had one that they just put in like less than a month ago that's flashing red lights above the street, so it's like a stoplight, but it's for a crosswalk. Over there, between, like, over.
No.
There's a
Yeah,
dozen.
The brand new one in Sunnyvale,
Yeah.
over there
Potentially more.
by, in 237 and Bernardo.
The San Antonio and Alma.
Yeah.
I'm gonna build on that, so sure. And since you brought it up, so I've had, I walk that every day.
What's
Almost all work. I walk that and I use the crosswalk at Hamilton, I use the crosswalk at Pepper.
Yeah.
Mostly. And I've had multiple people in the crosswalk tell me, be really careful, because if there's any congested traffic. And there's any trucks. And the cars that are not in the right-hand lane closest to the sidewalk, but are in the left-hand lane, cannot see the flashing signs because they're obstructed. If there were a third flashing sign on the median, it would be so much safer for pedestrians and cyclists crossing. You don't have to put lights all the way on the bottom of the street that are hard to maintain. All you need is another post with an electric sign in the middle of the street.
We are looking to those, and these 3 streets actually has 3. So
I shot.
we
Yeah.
got.
Excellent.
That's right.
Yeah. But it's gonna take about 2 to 3 months to order the parts. I don't know why.
So
One guy who manufactured
Yeah, okay. Well, we got this, it just takes a while.
so hardware.
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
These ones, since they're 3 and they're new and we have to do electrical wiring and all that stuff, these are about 50,000 each. So we're putting, we're putting money to the,
Including the work done.
include the labor and all that stuff, yeah.
Tell me it's a rounding error.
Up or down.
But yeah, there is, that's specific. I don't think Steven has any other, updates, unless he has anything, but that was my thing.
Right, as a comparison, each ADU ramp is $30,000.
Exactly.
And that hurts too. Trust me.
And again, yeah, it is safe, take this, I don't think it should be, she shouldn't be thinking about money, so.
Stephen, any reports from yourself?
No,
Beyond
I got
what-
nothing.
No.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to commissioner reports. Anything you would like to report that has not been discussed today?
I have 2 questions. This is for
Make a report and it is, I guess.
I heard a report from random human that Los Altos gets to decide whether Foothill has bike lanes or not, which is not up to the county. Is that correct?
I'm going to answer that. So,
Stephen, did you have a question?
This is the first time I heard of this.
yeah. Project.
Can you say a little bit more about the source? I mean, is it
This is a random human in my bike club. He says once upon a time, a long time ago, Los Altos banned bikes on Foothill.
Well, that would be a long time ago. Well,
Yeah, and the thing that's really holding back bike lanes on on Foothill is Los Altos, not the county.
well, I've seen people ride
I
bikes.
would call it Steven. Steven, do you have any history or knowledge on why the city proposing would not have bike lanes on Foothill Expressway?
No, I do not.
Tony,
And for that matter, this is the first time I ever heard of this.
from your friend.
Okay, if you happen to be talking to a county, worker and you come across this, can you please determine if that is a true or false statement?
Copy that.
Thank you. Second report question?
Who is in charge of the trees on Fremont between Grant and 85? We've been losing trees for storm and having.
Parks and Rec? Thank you.
I don't think it's Parks and Rec.
Yes, it's Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
They deal with the trees and
Public, they do public works.
we don't have a public works, it's actually Parks and Rec.
Parks and-
Thank you. Any other?
I'm the public works director retired.
Oh.
Not in your way.
Okay.
Any other next report?
That's public.
Yeah, it's very, they got me over.
As an FYI, in the event tickets are still available, there is the 2026 Los Altos and Los Altos Hills State of the Cities happening May 8th at the Fremont Hills Country Club. I'll be there if anyone wants to join me. My first one attending, in the State of the Cities, see what we're up to from the both mayors of the town of Los Altos Hills and the city of Los Altos will be presenting State of the Cities. So check it out, you can find it online, search for State of the Cities, Los Altos, Los Altos. From one report, and then any potential future agenda items.
I think we should have another update on San Antonio Road at our next meeting.
Is that, I hear you, Stephen, will you have information to provide us at the next commission meeting for an update on San Antonio?
What kind of update are you looking for?
Any movement or traction on anything that you're doing?
Well, you do have
Yeah.
a calendar.
I could give you something by then.
Yeah. So you have to basically
I think there was a question, I think from Suresh, right, around whether it's helpful for us to provide anything to Stephen around the specific question around like what flexibility we have based on our reading of the actual grant and the application for the grant, what we proposed to go in either direction on class of bike lane or anything else that we want to consider specific to the bike lanes. Suresh, did I have that right from you? Yeah, and Stephen, you know, is it worth agendizing an interview so that we can come back and talk through that specific issue?
Subcommittee. Each one create a subcommittee.
And it's part of the next one, yes.
No, that's a subcommittee is, once we determine there's more
Yeah,
ongoing.
I think subcommittee's premature right now.
Premature,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think it would be really helpful to get staff's input on what they would really like to get from the San Antonio subcommittee.
That could be part of that discussion.
Yeah, that's part of this.
I also heard city council ask for some things from this commission, as it relates to the San Antonio project.
Yeah.
So I think folks should go back and maybe take a look at it's like the last 15 minutes of yesterday's city council meeting, because there was some pretty specific.
But that link that Tom sent, that Art forwarded.
Yeah.
Goes directly to that. point.
Exactly, yeah, just click the link in the email, and thanks to Larry Lang for sending that to us, thanks to council.
Or you can just.
Give us direction. Yeah.
It's all published.
Yeah. That's a YouTube link, yeah, for sure, yeah.
So the question
Agenda.
by Stephen was about whether or not we need Stephen to create another report or update on San Antonio. At this time, it sounds like no. But we would plan to have that for the forthcoming meeting in June. Am I good, Stephen? This is a general update, any movement or traction. Yeah, sounds like-
Based on the schedule.
Yeah,
We
that
can,
would.
we're not able to, you know.
Well, in June, you will
You'll have no,
engage some
some
consultants.
budgeting conversations, some internal discussions you guys are having, where do we?
We can do a city update. We'll also have one discuss, but
probably a cost estimate by then, right? I don't know if that's on there or not.
The first, if you look at the first thing, we're evaluating right now.
Yeah.
So evaluating the streets and the conditions of it, and basically, we're just walking from Foothill to El Camino, back and forth, looking at the street, each section, so it's a lot of work. So that's what we're doing.
See, it's not clear to me what the San Antonio subcommittee is going to do. And that's where I think we need to get.
You need to clarify,
Because-
you need to, yeah, I need to clarify.
And will help us clarify that.
Everybody watch the city council meeting.
So the next,
No.
the June meeting is June 24th. And I will just table it for you all to consider that. I will not be here at the next meeting. Wes will be the chair, so you can discuss whether or not the formation of that happens at that time, but we will be.
We'll still do our meeting in the,
So not,
because we're not leaving until, okay.
okay, so scratching that, we have, for instance, other topics. So I was going to propose that we have a city outreach and have people come present on unsafe streets that they want to flag. I will not be here, so I feel like given that I'm on this ad hoc subcommittee, it would be not the right move. I would push this out to June. This time one to do that. So I will leave for that. Sorry, she has something.
No, I just wanted to note that you were going to speak with Larry Lang about possible inputs to the general plan.
I'm gonna email him.
Yeah, and then if there is, then I would have that agenda.
Okay.
If it's a positive, if it's a no, then we can you can give us an update and we can move on.
Gotcha. So I don't, based on that, I don't have any current agenda items for us to plan, so I guess we'll determine what that looks like for the next meeting and how we proceed forward. Okay. We're at the end, moving to adjourn at 9:20 p.m.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Take care. Have a good night.
Oh,